What's up, meatbags? It's the often imitated, never duplicated Tony TGD. And you were probably expecting Canadian Gamer, but he got hung up at work. But I was able to get LeoDS to come on. So say what's up, Leo.
What's up, Leo?
All right. So you've also discussed the Intellivision Amico quite a few times on your channel. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, definitely. I haven't been. Well, right now I'm doing a special on the channel, and it's going to be the whole month. I will only do something else on the channel this month if there's something very important, and maybe I will do about the Wonder Swan on the Mr. FPGA because that's a new release. But right now the channel is on halt basically for the special content, and I haven't done much lately. Like in the past couple weeks, I don't think I did. Maybe last week I did something, but uh, I did like I think a month ago. I was doing a lot of Amico content. So yeah, that's totally accurate.
Yeah. I tried to take off from Amigo content, take a little break, but these people they just won't let me go. They won't let me walk away. Even when I'm not around, they got to talk about me. But Leo, they want to know in the chat here. Easy wants to know: Is this going to have lag? Are we going to have lag
It
here?
definitely has a lot of lag, like the YouTube chat and the connection between. Although I'm not feeling too much, it's not terrible. Like this platform here that we're using, this what is this?
StreamYard?
StreamYard. Yeah, it seems pretty decent. It's not super laggy, but there's definitely a lot of lag.
Yeah. See, I think part of the lag that's going to be on this stream is from my end. I don't have a super high connection, and I think the way that YouTube works is we're going to hear it first, and then there's going to be like a couple of seconds before the actual YouTube channel hits it.
Well, my experience, I'm not sure how much you stream, but my experience with streams is that like I have like 15 seconds of a delay between what's going on the stream and the chat there, or even more, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, like, because it's many directions, right? Like there is the lag between the people seeing and then they writing and then what they wrote getting sent to YouTube and then getting sent to us. So it's a bunch of, you know, a bunch of links. Whenever you're talking about lag, this is one of the most important things. Like whenever if you have multiple steps going in the chain, that's what makes the big lags happen. And that's definitely the situation uh, on YouTube streaming and stuff. Thank God it's not important.
Yeah. So for those unfamiliar with your story as it pertains to the Amico, why don't you tell us what was the first impressions you had of the Amico when you first saw it?
Okay, so we're starting this like that. Okay, so again, Amico, right? Just to make it clear before I go into this, like I've been on YouTube for I don't know how long, 6 years, and Amico has never been and still not. It's still not the focus and the audience that I have. The growth that my channel has had in the past couple months is more, and I can see that in my videos, is more from Mr. FPGA than because of Amico. Mr. is still more important to me, of course, but to the channel generally speaking. But like my first thing with the Amico was like someone told me, like, oh, there's a Miko, and I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, it's Intellivision, it's coming back, and I was like, what? And so I googled it, and I looked at the iPods with the foot bath, and they're coming with that. What the fuck? And so I closed the window and I never looked back at it because I thought it was still Mattel doing it. And I was like, okay, so it's my baby's first console, made by Mattel. It's gonna have a bunch of shit on there. It just looks completely fucking stupid. But it's Mattel, right? Like they're gonna put this on Toys R Us for 5-year-olds to buy it, and it's gonna be horrible. But I have nothing to do with it. I have zero interest, and so I didn't look back for a long time.
So
That was it.
basically, you thought it was gonna be like another leapfrog type thing that for little kids, nothing serious, not a real actual console.
Yeah, yeah. That's the first impression that I got from it, and I completely like, you know, forgot about, because when I looked at those iPods, right, I was kind of like, you know, like with it's just, it just looks so dumb, right? It
It
doesn't.
is very odd looking.
It's hype, because this is the thing. If it's something innovative, or if it's something that resembles the original Intellivision controller, that would have looked interesting to me, right? But it literally looked like an iPod. That's not a gaming device, right? And so it was kind of like, yeah, whatever. But that was the initial impression. Do you want me to go to keep with the story?
Yeah. So, how has your impression changed? How has your thoughts
Well,
evolved?
yeah, I saw that, and then I was, people started asking. No, actually, what happens next is the following. I start, because I'm on YouTube, right? And I started hearing people talking about the Intellivision Amico, and it's a scam, because I was very involved with the Polymega, right? I've been covering the Polymega since like 2018, or maybe not, maybe it was 2017 when I started talking about them. Uh, and I was pointing out all the problems that thing had, that they were claiming stuff that's basically impossible to do, but they said they were going to do it, and then in the end they didn't do it because it's basically impossible. So I was in that environment, and people were saying, oh, you talk about Polymega, that's a scam. Why don't you talk about the Amico? It's a scam. And I was kind of like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, it's Mattel. Like, what is there to be a scam? It's horrible. It's garbage. But just Mattel was going to make it. They were going to release it to market, and whether they sell this or not, I'm not interested in knowing, because it's obviously not something for me. Um, but it's Mattel doing this. Like, there is no way it's a scam. And then people are like, no, it's not Mattel. And television isn't owned by Mattel for like 20 years, 30 years. I don't even know. And then someone eventually said, this is Tommy Tallarico doing this. And I was like, what's Tommy Tallarico? Who's Tommy Tallarico? Like, what the hell is this? And so I said, okay, so let me take a look. So I Googled Intellivision Amico. I Googled Tommy Tallarico. I saw his website, and his website said he worked like in these games like Pac-Man and stuff like that. It's kind of like, Pac-Man? It's kind of like, this guy was a little child playing television, and he worked on Pac-Man. Like, is this a prodigy
Prodigy.
child that, like, he was 10 years old, he was composing for Namco in Japan? Like, what the fuck is this? Because the way he wrote it, right, he didn't say Pac-Man World for the place. He worked on games like Pac-Man. He writes like that. He's like, oh wow, Pac-Man, right? uh, and then I looked at that, at his website, and I was kind of like, wow, this website's so weird and misleading. Because I took a look at it. Okay, it's Pac-Man World. That is obviously, he didn't work for Namco in the early '80s, or it's like, and that already started. Like, I was kind of like, wow, this is so weird. Like, who's this guy, and why does he write this shit? Like, if he's a video game composer, whatever, like, why does he write it like this? But I still didn't know who he was exactly. I knew it just has this. All I knew about Tommy Tallarico is that he had this weird, like, crappy website that was very, overblowing and everything he does, um, and that he was doing this in Intellivision Amico with his own money. I took a look at the console, and it looks complete. It looked to me at the moment completely stupid, pointless, ridiculous. I mean, again, I'm a guy, like, I have a horrifying commander right in front of me here, like, because and on the side here I have a full Japanese arcade parts arcade stick, right? Like, I'm an enthusiast for this kind of stuff. Like, I've been discussing and playing and buying different controllers, and I love this kind of stuff. And I knew, like, from looking like that controller is not going to be good to play the kinds of games I play, right?
Right.
And so I just, again, the second time, because the guy was doing this with his own money, because he's some rich person who, whatever, has tons of money, and he is interested in making a crappy console. So what do I care? I closed all those things again, and I, like, went with my life. I don't give a crap about this thing. That was the second reaction that I had, until, right,
Okay.
until Cyrus Martin started getting involved with Intellivision Amico, and I was a friend of Cyrus Martin. Nowadays, I understand, because Cyrus Martin has a lot of friends, right? He has a lot of friends, and I was one of his friends. So I think when he says friends, like, it's more of an acquaintance thing, right?
Right.
I considered him a friend. Like, he was my only YouTube friend. I don't I don't have other people who I call friends at YouTube. I have a couple, like, it's literally three guys on my Discord. I call those three guys friends. And Cyrus Martin used to be there too. Um, those guys aren't even YouTubers. Oh, one of them is a retired YouTuber. Oh, sorry, Mike actually does. Mike. Mike's around you also, your channel.
Yeah.
He also has a YouTube channel. Um, it's not very active. Uh, and so then I started going to the stuff, and I was there, Sai was there, and we were saying, "Oh, you guys are saying this thing is a scam, this thing this and this thing that. Show us what you mean, because you say this is a scam, that doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? Like, oh,
Yeah.
the Intellivision Amico is a scam. That doesn't mean anything. What do you mean by it's a scam? You have to show me what you mean. What are the problems? What are the issues? You know, and we looked into it, and I think from Cyrus Martin's perspective, you know, that was all bullshit. All that you guys said, right? And from my perspective, when I started looking at that, the first thing that I started thinking, well, this is kind of crappy, was the entire Fig crowdfunding that they did, right?
Yeah.
Because it it's not a scam just because it's on Fig, right? But it's like, if the thing is mismanaged for some reason, or if like, it opens up the possibility for there being, like, either unethical, because then it's not Tommy's money in there, right? Again, my initial impressions, as I said, the initial reaction that I had is like, this guy's wasting his money on this piece of crap. Who cares, right? I have nothing to say. I didn't make even a single video back then, because there was no point in it. Like, let the guy waste his money and come to market, and then we'll see whether it's good or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand that. But let's talk about Fig real quick. For those who are unaware, it is a crowdfunding investment website. It is now owned by Republic. They got bought out. But basically, it was used to fund video games like Kickstarter. But instead of getting Kickstarter rewards, like bonuses or a copy of the game or something, you would get a percentage of the profit sharing in the game that the game made. Now, prior to the Amico, it was just straight video games. There was no consoles, there was no other electronics. It was just straight for, the development of a single game. And a lot of the things that were said on Fig in the campaign for Intellivision Amico were a bit misleading. They would name drop people that were either no longer with the company or not exactly in the position or helping out in the capacity that they made it seem like. And I think that's where I first got really, wary of Tommy and all the claims he makes. Did you notice anything particular in the Fig campaign that really got your eyes looking?
Well, a lot, actually, because when you guys, again, as a friend of Cyrus Martin and someone who was new to the entire situation, I was I was hearing a lot of people saying this was a scam and this was this and this was that. And I was kind of like, well, I have no idea. I don't know this. I couldn't believe you. I had no reason to believe you guys, generally speaking, right? I think you were already there in the comment section, like talking about that too. Uh, and people pointed, like when I asked people, like, when you say this is a scam, what do you mean? And people like, oh, they're crowdfunding this through Fig with it, but there are problems. And I read the entire thing. Now, one of the biggest problems that there is with Fig, as you said, it's a platform made to fund video games, just the game itself, software, right? And so when you sell software, there is no digital software, which is the case, right? There is no manufacturing cost. So you sell a game on Fig for $10. That's $10 in. You sell that game on, I don't know, like on Steam. I think it's like from $10, it's like $7 in, right? And so a lot of the money of the revenue is, how do you call that when it's what you're making, really, right? But when you sell an Amico, profit, sorry, again, exactly. So your revenue is basically, it's not your profit because you have all the development costs, right? But there are no manufacturing costs in the middle. And so that is one thing. And so the entire setup is kind of complicated because it doesn't really fit a hardware, project. And the worst part of it is if you go into the graphics and you look at how they calculate the way people are going to get paid, back, all those investors are going to get paid back. There is a ton of software revenue there. It's like each person who buys an Intellivision Amico would need to buy multiple games a year, like 10, 15 games a year, for those graphics to work the way they were made there. And knowing the market, I highly doubt the hyper casuals they're targeting are going to get, over and over buying new games for this thing. Because as I was saying, if they sell, imagine they make $50 million in revenue overall, right? And a half of that is on sales for consoles, and a half of that is sell for games, right? Then all that half that's in games, that is profit, basically. Because there is no, they're selling either on their own store. I mean, they are selling on their own store, right?
Right.
And
There's no
so,
overhead.
yeah, so just the development, but that's fine, right? And so, yeah, so that's going to make them be able to give a lot back to the investors. But the problem is, I highly doubt that people are going to spend $250 on an Amico, and they're going to spend $250 in games for the Amico in the next couple of years. I highly doubt that. And so that was the first thing that I looked at, and it's kind of like, well, this doesn't really add up. Like they're considering as if people, but I don't think I mean, not that I'm a market expert, but really those numbers seem very wrong to me. Especially considering the target audience, right? Because I don't think a hyper casual is going to be buying tons of games all the time, right? But I don't even buy this entire hyper casual thing, right? They Tommy says they have all this market, how to say that, market research. I don't think they have that the way he made it seem like they have it. It doesn't look like they have it.
So you think he was exaggerating and
Yeah, because a lot of the things, like, and all the other stuff I could let you talk about, because he made all these videos attracting the investors and explaining to investors what the console was and what it was going to be like. And the way he spoke, like that was definitely completely misleading. Like all games are going to be exclusive. When you say that, but right in the video, on the pitch, without any other context around it, like when you say it's an exclusive game, anyone will understand it as they are developing the games. And he said that all the games are built from the ground up to utilize the controllers, to utilize the hardware of the system, right? And take the most out of it. So the games will be built around the touch screen and the disc. And that's the impression I legitimately had of the console in the beginning, right? Until I started seeing much later, they started showing the games, and you have something like what is it called, Dyna Blasters? It's
Yep.
like, how are you gonna argue that that game is made from the ground up to be used with the Intellivision Amico controller? Can you rationalize an argument for that? Like play
Well,
devil's advocate. How is that made to play on the Amico? How is that game built from the ground up to be used with that controller?
to play devil's advocate, since Dyna Blasters was built to be played on mobile devices, it probably can fit pretty well on the controller.
Well, it can fit, but it's not built for that.
Oh no, it's not utilizing everything in the controller, and it's probably not 100% optimized for the controller. But I'm sure since the controller has basic Android software and the game was built for Android devices, there probably was a ease of porting, if you will.
Yeah. Again, it's not an exclusive game,
Well,
and it's not.
if you go to the Dyna Blasters website, the official one, it actually says that it's going to be on multiple platforms. The current Dyna Blasters version that's out there, not the previous version this is based on, but the actual one that Tommy is showing off in his trailers,
Yeah.
it actually says it's going to be on multiple platforms, including
And
the Nintendo Switch.
and again, it's a game that you control characters in 4 directions, right? It's a
Yep.
game that clearly is better played on an NES pad. NES, Super NES, PlayStation, you name it, right? Have a D-pad with 8 directions. It's better than a disc thing, right? And so that's where I started to realize, okay, so he said he had this marketing thing. He said he was not targeting gamers. He was targeting like the hyper casuals who play on mobile but want quality games. But again, like what he shows for the games, all the like maybe with exceptions, maybe there are a couple games that really are different in a way, right? But the bulk of it are literally games that they are changing them, but they're not changing them in a like exclusive. Um, they're going to they're not changing these games in a fundamental manner that changes the target audience, right? Like you can change the Finnegan Fox and change the graphics, and even if you improve the game and it's a better version of the game, it's still a game for the same audience. So when you were saying in the beginning that you're targeting a different audience, it's not really what you're doing, or you're not seemingly doing it efficiently. So I was not thinking back then, okay, this is a scam, whatever. But I started going, yeah, these guys have a point. Like when he says these things, right? Will he really follow through with them? And a lot of the things that I legitimately thought they were going to follow through with, that they were going to have again more games like Shark and Skiing that use the controller in a manner that makes sense, that's maybe better than playing the same game on any other console, right? Those seem to be the exception, unfortunately. I'm not sure, Tony. What games would you say like they are better played on the Amico controller than they would be played on a PlayStation 4 controller, for example?
Really, right now, I don't think there's a single game because everything that he's showing off, gyroscope, accelerometers, touchpad, touchscreen, all that, on the PlayStation 5, I got all that. On the PlayStation 4, I believe you have all that. There's nothing
Yes, you have.
truly unique other
Well,
than the screen. The screen is the only unique feature on the controller. And he's actually said it only does 20 frames per second on the controller screen, so you can't play a full game on it. It's not going to be more than just showing pictures for buttons or pictures for your cards. So maybe, I guess poker would play better on the Amico.
but I'm really talking about like what they showed so far, not
Well, they did show that
theoretically.
spades game. I don't know if you remember, they showed off monster spades.
Oh, okay, no,
Yeah,
okay,
and the big thing was that you would be able to see your cards on your controller screen, and no one
okay,
else would be able
okay,
to see your cards.
okay. Yeah, that's one like I'm gonna go a little bit off, like kind of off topic because we are talking about something else. But this is one of those things. Like Tommy Tallarico sometimes he says these things, and it's kind of strange that he wouldn't realize that what he's saying is kind of dumb because it's like, oh, and nobody ever did, like really ever did a a couch multiplayer card game before, right?
Right.
And it's like, yeah, because if you're together with people in the same room, you're gonna play cards with cards because it's like $2 for a deck of cards, and everybody has that at home, and it's better to play cards with cards. And so the only reason why you would ever do a card game on a computer or on a console is if you don't have people in the same room, and so you have to do it online. It's like he's almost like, oh, look, like we have this virtual sex thing that you can do with your wife at home. It's like, what? Dude, if I'm home with my wife, right? It's like I'm gonna do the real thing, not gonna do some online like virtual thing. What are you talking about? Are you crazy? And it's the same thing. And so this is the thing, like some of the things that they say, like they're so out there. And that's the moment I started realizing, okay, they don't have marketing research. Like they
Right.
don't know. I don't think I don't have a proof of that. I'm not trying to say this is the truth. I'm just saying my personal opinion here. This is no right. We're not doing. I mean, I'm not know what to do. I'm not doing some journalistic investigative thing right now. But when I saw all those things, the only conclusion that I could come to was, okay, so there is no plan, and this is where we go back to the entire fig thing, because he clearly seemed to have a plan there, that they were going to market and that they knew what they were doing. They had all those, 600 years of experience and market research, and they had something new to bring to the table. And so, if you invest money in the Intellivision Amico, you know, you'll be investing into a revolutionary new machine, and you'll get, up to 10 times the amount of money you invested in this. And then when he starts showing his stuff, all he has is like cornhole and Astro Smash. And I was kind of like, are you serious that this is what you think is going to revolutionize the gaming industry? Like cornhole and Astro Smash for $250?
Well, here's the thing. When I talked to Tommy, it was like a 3 hour interview. It was a little hostile, but eventually we got there where we were chatting normally. And he was very adamant that they were going to have developers from all over the world. He's like, Brazil got a big gaming thing. We're going to have Brazilian developers. We're going to have developers from, China, developers from the U.S. And so far, all we've seen is German developers. And it is my understanding that the people developing Cornhole did not even know what Cornhole was. They basically had to have Tommy send them a Cornhole set, and he had to teach them how to play the game before they could even make it. Leo went silent. He's probably dealing with something.
No, yeah, it's good. It's good. Uh, yeah, no, totally. And but this is the thing. I don't feel like this is an exception, right? It just seems how most of the stuff there is happening as
Well,
the console goes.
here's the thing. I think that Tommy's always saying, they have the data, they just won't show it to us, like Sega Snatcher says. But here's the thing: I don't think they have any market research that's legitimate, because you can go to companies. You can go to companies and say, "Hey, I need you to, do some market research on a product or whatever," and the company will basically, if you give them money, they'll tell you what you want to hear, because they're like, if you tell them, "Hey, I'm going to market a new hairbrush, and the hairbrush is going to squirt out shampoo and conditioner," that's a stupid ass idea. But you can get a marketing research company that will get people together, that'll tell you that it's the greatest idea ever and that everyone's willing to buy it and that you're a fucking genius. And so if Tommy went to some marketing research company and told them their idea, they went out, got some people that basically just regurgitated that it was a great system, then of course Tommy might think that he got market research. He might think that he has a legitimately good idea, but the reality is there are lots of ideas, lots of products that come out that supposedly had great market research, all this data, and they fail spectacularly. If you watch Shark Tank, they talk about it all the time. They'll basically say, "Yeah, you have this data, but it's junk data."
Yeah, I think that's very likely. Of course, like there are two completely different things. Um, like one is if you're a company that you're creating your internal data, right? You do want to pay someone who's going to do the actual research, right? And they're going to, again, like can I extend on this? It's like, is it fine?
Yeah,
Okay, good. So imagine this, okay? Like if you wanted legit data for your company, okay, what would you do? You would give all the information you can about Intellivision Amico, and theoretically, right, you would
right.
give the company the Amico console, if you, or some kind of prototype. You give to them and you would tell them, listen, we want to know whether people are going to like this and whether people will want to buy this and what they think would make this even better. And so you give it to that company. What is that company going to do then to make their market research to know whether this thing is going to be good or not? They're going to show this to people next to PlayStation 4, next to a Nintendo Switch, next to a cell phone. They're not going to say anything about it. They're going to let these people, take a look and see where they go to and what they do and how they do it. They're going to ask questions and try to have you know, a neutral environment to observe what are these people doing, right?
Right.
Now, I don't know what kind of data uh, Tommy Tallarico did in the beginning. I have no idea. What I do know is when we saw him showing the Intellivision Amico to the quote unquote general public in the museum in Texas, like at least 70% of the people who were actually shown by them, they were either his friends or financially invested in the project, right?
Right.
And now more recently, he said, "Oh, a lot of moms played the Intellivision Amico and they loved it." And you know what picture he posted on social media accompanying what he said?
No.
He hugging a mom. It's like, oh yeah, I invited a bunch of moms, and I don't know, like we had a party, and it was super fun, and I convinced them for 5 hours that this thing's the best thing in the world, and they played it for 5 minutes, and that's knowing all that I know today. That's what I think actually happened, and so of course they loved it. Like I would love the Intellivision Amico too. Like you bring all my best friends to my home, okay, with a lot of good food and booze, right? To make a big party within Intellivision Amico. right? And everybody's saying Intellivision Amico is awesome. At the end of the party, what do you think you're gonna say? Yeah, Intellivision is like the best thing that happened in my, like in the past 15 years. Like all my friends are here, everything's awesome, it's the best party ever, and it's all because of Intellivision Amico. But again, like Tommy Tallarico can't go to everyone's house and buy them pizza.
That sounds like a
So
challenge, Leo. That sounds like you're telling me I think he can. I think he has the money to afford to go to everybody's house and play games with them.
yeah, that seems to be the plan. Looking at the right how he's selling the Intellivision Amico, like he's a personal salesman for the thing on YouTube. He'll go on your, he will talk to every single people in the comment section. You'll talk to every single 5 subscriber channel, right? Again, like that seems to be the big plan actually, and he'll personally sell this thing to millions of people, right? Yeah, so that's the impression. But this is kind of like the impression I start getting like in the last month or so, or a couple of months, I would guess, because before I really started knowing how Tommy seems to operate, right? From my perspective, again, right?
Yeah.
Just talking about my perspective here, I can't say anything else. Um, Again, like it changed a lot how I perceive what he says, right? Because again, like so many times he said these things, and then at the end, like what he meant, it's not like he was lying, right? Oh, he's not lying that the games are exclusive. All the games, yeah, but that's not even close to what I thought was exclusive, right? So again, when he says, I don't know, I don't have anything to substantiate that. But when he says market research, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
is that just like the exclusive games? Like, what does it mean actually? I don't know what stuff he says mean anymore. Like he talked about gaming communists the other day. I'm still trying to understand what the hell is a gaming communist.
Well, in my opinion, since the Amico is trying to bring everyone together, I would think that'd be more communist than a bunch of us out here making fun out of them and laughing.
Well, I don't even know who he was referring to when he said gaming communists. Am I a
Anyone
gaming
who doesn't like it.
communist?
Yep. If you
Anyone
don't like
who
the
doesn't
Amico,
like the Amico, right? Yeah. If you don't like the Amico, no. But this is the thing. This is the thing that's funny. They always preface it with, "Oh, if you don't like the Amico for a legit reason, that's fine. We don't have a problem with that, right? It's only the people who are crazy stalker, obsessive psychopaths that we have a problem with." And I'm kind of like, okay, so you don't have a problem with me because I just don't like the console.
well, here's the thing, Leo. I don't think they believe there is a single legit reason not to like the console. So when they say, well, if you don't like it for a legit reason, that's
Uh-huh.
just them covering their ass because they don't believe
Yeah,
that there's a legit reason.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I think that really is it. Like and this is one thing. I'm not sure how many people are there in the world in my position. Okay, because I am one of the very few that came out of the Amico cult. Because I started this in there, right?
Yep.
I was a part of it. And that is the interesting part because there is a very strong echo chamber there. And they retrofeed, right? And there is so much talk. And I think, I don't know, because I wasn't very long in there, right? And then I started already quickly saying these things that started pissing Tommy off. Actually, that's the thing, because again, I'm a I I try to be as honest as I can. I'm not saying I'm always going to be 100% honest about everything. That's incredibly hard if you really, look at that at face value. But I really try to be. So when Tommy Tallarico says, Leo, you can say, you know, what you think. It's fine, right? And when Cyrus Martin was saying to me, oh, you can say whatever you want about Intellivision Amico. I don't care about your, you know, or you do what you want with your YouTube channel. I don't care. In my head, I was like, okay, I can do whatever. I'll say what I think. But that was not good, right? To say what I think. Like when
Well,
I,
what they were really saying is you can say what you think as long as you think the way we want you to.
yeah, basically that was the gist of it. Because again, and there are many things that I didn't really understand. I still don't really understand. Like, for example, I was the first one to announce the second delay, right? And I didn't announce it because basically I used, and at that moment I was I was talking to like I was talking to Tommy, like with private messages and stuff like that, right? And I knew insider information of what was the, like, not what was the actual progress, what was the plan as far as announcing the delay and when it was going, because back then he was not openly saying when they were going to announce the delay and what was exactly going on. Now he's doing that, right? Now he says, like, at the beginning of July we're gonna say whether it's delayed or not, right?
Yeah.
But that was not the case. And you know, it was pretty clear he was going to delay. But the thing is, he posted on AtariAge that. Are you still hearing me? Yes, you are.
Yeah.
He posted on AtariAge that the new lockdown was heavily uh, impacting their ability to ship the console in April. It was April, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, so that's it. Like, it's obvious. Like, he's clearly stating it. Like, that the new lockdown is severely impacting our ability to ship the console in April. What does that? It obviously mean the thing is delayed. So I asked Tommy, Tommy, I'm gonna go on my channel and say the console is going to be delayed because of this, And so, do you want me to say anything specific? Is there anything, you would like me to address? Or is there any, like, information you want to give me so that I make the video? Or should I just take the public information that's out there and make the video with it? Right? He didn't, I don't think he replied to that. And so after a few hours of me waiting, or half a day of me waiting for a response, I just made a video. Was using exclusively the public again. Like, I just based what I said on the video on the AtariAge post, right? It's like, okay, listen, this is what the guy wrote, and it's obvious from this and from the entire situation, right? Of the manufacturing and of the parts and of the compliance testing and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's not going to release, and that's the reason why I'm pretty sure it's not going to release. Um, and then, as you know, like, comes this wave, video after video of everybody talking about how the delay is not a big deal and how to delay this and how to delay that. And I was kind of like, wow, why is this happening? Like, why? Who's saying this is a big deal? Like, like, and and it's almost like, was I not supposed to say the thing? It's obviously delayed. And that's one of the moments, I think, that things started getting kind of strange, because it's kind of like, dude, the thing is delayed. Just say it's delayed, and that's it. Like, but they make such a huge drama around the thing, everything, right? Every
Yep.
little thing that you talk about the console, it suddenly becomes this big thing. You're trying to smear the Amico. But the thing is gonna be delayed.
Yep.
I can see it's gonna be delayed. I'm gonna say it's gonna be delayed. It's the same thing with the lag. I can count the frames in a video and see there is about 8 frames of lag in this game. There's about 13 frames of lag in that game, about 10 in this other one. So I can make a video and say, listen, if you count the frames here, you can do it at home. All you guys can do it at home and do it yourself, right? Oh, Canadian Gamer is joining us soon. That's cool. No, wait, 25, what? Oh, yeah. Ah, okay, no, he's off work. Okay, soon, soon. Uh, and again, right? That's what I said. Of course, I said some other things, my personal analysis. But then, it all blows out of proportion, right? Like, okay, so why are you trying to deny the lag? Why? I mean,
Well,
the
here's the thing, Leo. Here's if we could, because you're going really fast on your topics. But here's
yeah,
the thing.
sorry.
No, it's fine. Um, when you use the information from AtariAge, you probably weren't aware, but we had made videos. People had made videos and they were posting about things he had said on AtariAge. And Tommy actually came out and said, nothing on AtariAge is official. Do not consider any comments he makes on AtariAge as any kind of official statement from the company, that he is just talking with friends. He's just having a friendly conversation. It's not official until you see it on the actual, you know, uh, social media pages of Intellivision. So anything he says there, he'll say things like, we're having trouble manufacturing, we're having this, we're having that. But he considers that off topic. You're not allowed to discuss that because, as he told me when I discussed something from AtariAge, that was him just having a private conversation with friends. And how dare I discuss that and make a big deal out of it?
Yeah, that's cool that you're not allowed to discuss public information. Now, again, I, right? It's not I understand. I'm not arguing what you're saying. I understand completely. But again, it's just this is one of the things that I started having a really hard time as someone who was a, a friend of Cyrus Martin. I was at that moment friendly with Tommy, right? I was
Yeah.
honest, but I was still kind of friendly with Tommy, uh, and kind of with the other guys too. Um, but it's just the things that I talked about most of the time. And in the beginning, listen, this is before I started the fights with Tommy. I kept for a long time, like being extremely objective and neutral and nice, actually. Not even neutral. I was being so nice to Demiko. Because my first reaction, like, right?
Yeah.
Is like I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is a fucking piece of shit. Like, what the hell? Like, who can be this stupid to make a video game console that looks like this? This makes no sense, right? That was my gut feelings of the thing, and I was like treating it like an actual real console, right? Which I don't. I'll be honest with you, I don't think it is. I think it with those controllers it could be, right? If it had the software to back it up. But you can never, and this is something I said completely devoid of the Amico um, context. You cannot ever review something or analyze something in a vacuum. You cannot get like a GTX 3090 graphics card and review it in a vacuum without saying that there are cards that cost half the price and have 70 to 80% of the performance of that, right?
Right.
You can't do that. That makes no sense. And so you cannot talk about Intellivision, Nico, you know, without comparing. Like, people get so angry. Oh, no, compare it to the Nintendo Switch. Of course, they don't want you to compare it to the Nintendo Switch, right? Because
It's blown
once
out
you
of the
look at
water.
the Nintendo Switch, it makes no sense to buy an Amico. And
Right.
they have,
That's the thing. That's why Tommy's so adamant that they're not competing with the big three, that they're not actually in that same market. Is because if they're not in the same market, then it doesn't make sense to compare it to the Nintendo Switch. It doesn't make sense to compare it to Game Pass. That's why
yeah,
he's so like, we're not competing with them. That's not our target audience. That's not our target market. Don't mind all the things we do, all the retro themed channels I'm on, that I'm going to E3, that I'm talking to people in the game industry and always leaning on the game industry and our experience. Don't mind any of that. We're just not making a video game console to compete with other video game consoles.
sorry, I kind of disagree with that point because it's not about where he is and who he's talking to. It's what he's showing. And the Intellivision Amico does not have either hardware or software that sets it apart enough from a Nintendo Switch to say it's not targeting the. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I
It
understand your
does,
point.
even if it's somehow retro and all that. If it had something that was actually very different and special that would set it apart, I would give them that. But it doesn't have it. What does it like? Again, let's try to play devil's advocate. Like, what does it have that the Nintendo Switch doesn't have that sets it apart? Like
Uh,
cornhole and shark multiplayer?
the lack of pornography.
The lack of something like that is one of the worst. That's what the Coleco Chameleon. Were you around the Coleco Chameleon debacle thing?
I was vaguely familiar with it. I'm not really a retro YouTuber, retro person.
Because
I'm more into modern stuff.
this is one of the things that people were already bringing out back in the day for the Coleco Chameleon, and before that it was the Retro VGS. It's like when your best features are your lack of features, like you don't have online, you don't have patches, you don't have downloads, you don't have Netflix and internet access. When that's your best selling point, you're screwed, right? Because the only thing you can advertise is that you don't have stuff. What do you have? And unfortunately, Intellivision is falling for the same trap. Like, we don't have uh, violence. We don't have, yeah, but again, as we all know, everyone who's here knows, like, it's not hard to give a kid a Nintendo Switch without violence. It's not hard. It's easier to do that than with the Amico
But here's
because,
the thing: before we
yeah,
expand too much, the Amico games are violent. I mean, he
yeah,
keeps saying that they're not violent, but you're shooting robots, you're eating other animals, you're you're doing things that are considered violent. Maybe it's not realistic violence. You're not seeing people's heads explode and stuff, but people who don't want violence, and I've seen comments from other people in Discord and stuff, they're basically saying, no, these are violent games. I don't want to play these. I wouldn't, as a non-violent person, I wouldn't play these games. And if he's targeting these Christian moms, these non-violent people, they're going to say the same thing. What do you mean? That has a gun in it. That has animals dying. So this whole
I, I,
non-violent thing is
I completely agree. If that's your target audience, this is not that. This is, you shouldn't have Finnegan Fox and what's that?
Night
Rigid
Stalker.
Force. Or which one?
Night Stalker.
Oh yeah, Night. I mean, Night Stalker. I think that's the reason why it didn't even make a physical release. I don't think they even want to have that, up front, because it destroys the message. You know.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
got Night Stalker. You got that. Was it the tank battle, armor battle?
Yeah.
B-17 bomber.
Yeah. Yeah. That. Oh, do they have that? Oh yeah. There's the biplanes too. Like, you're
Yeah,
shooting people down. Biplanes are just shooting Nerf bullets at each other. Great. Um,
and here's
again,
the thing: they'll say that there'll be people who will clip this and they'll say that Tony and Leo are being nitpicky and that's not real violence. But I'm not saying it's real violence. I have no issue with it. I have no issue with most games, most violent games on modern consoles. The issue is if you're going to say that you're a non-violent system, if you're a system that's safe for people who don't want violent games, you can't then wiggle room your way out of it and say, well, this is not really violence. This is only sort of violence. Either it's no violence or it's violence. You know what I mean?
I completely agree. I think it's uh, again, goes back to that what I was thinking when I first saw those pitch videos from Tommy. like that. And that's, I'm pretty sure that's what a lot of people thought too. It's like they're gonna make these games from ground up. They're gonna be family friendly things for everyone. They're gonna be new, unique, interesting, fun games. They have this plan to come to the market and appeal to everyone in a way these other consoles can't do, right?
Right.
Um, and clearly that's not what's happening, because these games, again, they are new games in the sense that they are new versions of pre-existing genres and games, right? But they're
Yep.
not new games in the sense that they are like revolutionary, that they are actually a new genre or something, right? It's not like, oh, we're gonna be like the Wii. Yeah, but the Wii was revolutionary because there was no video game system that played with motion controls that way. You never played bowling before by actually throwing a bowling ball, but that was revolutionary. I don't know, 15 years ago. Is it
Yeah.
more?
I think it's almost 20 years.
Yeah, right. So you can't be revolutionary again by doing the exact same thing, but worse. Because I mean, are we gonna seriously compare cornhole to bowling? Can I say another thing? Sorry, I do talk a
No,
lot.
go ahead.
It's
You're free.
it's like, listen, why does cornhole exist, Tony? Why does cornhole exist?
Because drunk people like to throw things.
Yeah, but why don't they bowl then?
Because you'd have to go to a bowling alley, cost money.
Yeah,
You can't
but
play bowling anywhere.
cornhole you can, right?
Yeah, it's like $5 for a cornhole set. You could set it up anywhere. I
So the
mean,
entire point of the existence of cornhole is that it's something that anyone can do, the real thing, right? If you have four people at home, or even alone, if you want to, right? You
yep,
can play cornhole. It's cheap. It's easy to set up. You can set up it almost anywhere, unless you live in a very small, crowded apartment. You can you can set it up. So why would you make a video game version of something that anyone can set up for free? It's like, this is the kind of stuff. And when I point these things out, as you say, like people say, "Oh, you're nitpicking." Oh, but listen, I again, just like for them, everything I say is so outrageously crazy, right? From my perspective, it's like, yeah, it's one of the fastest growing sports in the US, because you just, I don't know, pay $50 for a set at Walmart, and you throw some bags around and have a laugh with your friends in the backyard.
well,
Because you
here's the
can't buy a bowling alley for $50. So, but who would make a video game of that?
here's the thing, Leo. Cornhole is no longer the fastest growing sport in the U.S.
Yeah,
It
because they
was
delayed so long.
it was the fastest growing sport only because real sports were
Yeah, they
they
can't
were
grow.
gone. No, because baseball, basketball, football, and soccer, they
Ah,
all
of
were
course.
on hiatus because of the COVID. For 2 years,
Okay,
there was no major sports, so
okay.
the only thing people could play was cornhole, things of that nature, and they started featuring them on ESPN and stuff because there was no other major league sports to play. Once those sports came back, cornhole is pretty much fallen by the wayside, back to being the drunken backyard game it was.
Well, that's perfect for Amico then. That's a good thing. Stop hating. Yeah,
Uh,
no, that these are the other things, right? I mean, listen, you make a video for investors, right? Want to
right.
put money into something, and they want to see that money back in a year or two, right? And you say, we're at the launch pad, ready to launch this ship, right? Like, we're ready to go. We've done our job. We've done our research. We've developed our console. We just need our money to do the finishing touches and launch this, right? So invest now, and in a year from now, you're gonna have your, return of investment, and all that kind of stuff. And then you start looking at it. It's like what, almost 2 years later now since they started making those videos. Is it?
Yep.
Maybe it's not. I don't. But I mean, we're a year delayed, and we're probably gonna get delayed again. They are gonna get delayed again, right? And
Yep.
so again, it's that thing. If legitimately what happened was, oh, there were, roadblocks, there were problems, there were COVID, and this is what I was saying back then, even as I was still friends with Cyrus and all that. Well, if there are roadblocks, if something happened and unpredictably your console got delayed because of something, then what is it? Because it's not like COVID, right? COVID's not a console disease. It's a, so something happened. Okay, because of COVID, we couldn't develop our games. Well, but weren't they a long way developed? Like, didn't you have the game? Like, didn't you have this stuff? Because the impression that you gave people is that you had it. It's the same thing again. Like I think the whole Amico, people don't like the comparison, but it's the same problem that I had with the Polymega. It's like they said they were done. They said they were opening pre-orders because they had the thing done, right?
Yep.
And then they they made their pre-orders, they got the money, and then comes release date. Oh, we still need to do this and that, and you're like, okay, but weren't you ready? Like when you said you were ready back then, I thought those things were done, right? So you're done, but you're still like a year later after you're done, you're still redesigning your board. It's like
Well, for the
it's
Amico,
hard.
Tommy said that they were ready to launch last year in October. He was very adamant that it was only COVID manufacturing that was holding him back.
Yeah,
He made many videos. He was out there saying that we're idiots. Pat and Ian didn't know what they were talking about. We didn't know what we were talking about. He was ready to go. It was manufacturing holding him back. Come to find out, he hasn't passed compliance testing. They still have a potential name dispute with the Amiga. The Amiga is
yeah,
disputing the
true.
Amico name. They still got that going on. Like you said, he's redesigned the board. He's redesigning the outside. The purple one changed twice. The white one has
Yeah,
changed.
this is when you pick you pick these things, right? Like, oh, we're done, right? We're done. We have
Yep.
everything ready, and then many months later, you show your console and you're like, oh yeah, the plastics are not final. And you're like, what? Like 6 months ago, this was like, you start going backwards, right?
Yeah.
Like the stuff that was already finished, then later it's not finished anymore. And it's like, oh, but we're changing stuff. No, you can't be this stupid. Like you want to release the console, right? So don't change stuff that you had working. Don't spend money changing stuff that was working before to delay again, spend more. Like, no, just what's finished is finished. Just finish everything and release the console. But I don't really, I again, because it's so stupid, I don't believe they're changing things because they have extra time. That would be incredibly stupid. Again, they are already bleeding money. They don't want to spend even more money in research and development for stuff that's already developed, right? How we're improving, like bullshit. So we're gonna keep improving this and delaying this forever, right? No, most logically, it's not. It was never. It was not completed. They were still in the process. But again, the way they speak is misleading. It's not. It's not lying, right? Uh, but
Mm, it could be. It depends on what he knows and what he's
yeah,
actually saying. I mean,
yeah, true.
lying is all about intent.
True, true. You can't prove it's lying, but it could be. Yeah, you're right.
And here's the thing: like he's saying that he's changing the boards, he's changing this. Well, then why don't you just come? Why do you have to wait until we point out that you were ready in October You know what I'm saying? Just come out and be like, hey, here's what we're gonna do. Now that we have extra time, here's the roadmap for the Amico for the next year. We're gonna update the board. We're gonna change this. We're gonna do that. But it always seems like he's one step behind all of us. We'll be like, hey, that's different. Why is that different? Oh, you're just a hater, and here's what we did because we had extra time and we're making it better, and you're just an idiot who doesn't know how business works. It's like, no, Tommy, you seem to be the one who doesn't know how business works. Could you imagine if PlayStation delayed the PlayStation 3 and said, you know what? We're going to delay it because we're going to have a slim version. We're not going to release the regular one. We're just going to go straight to the slim. You'd be
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
what the fuck are you thinking? Like, that makes no sense. Get the thing out. You don't need 5 colors. Get the thing out with 1 color. And then when it sells, then you can have extra colors. You can do things like that. I mean, do you think Walmart's gonna be like, you know what? We're glad that you have 12 colors. We haven't sold a fucking single Amico, but it's a good thing that there's 12 different versions of them.
yeah, yeah. That's pretty crazy too. This is the thing also, like you can clearly see from, I mean, sorry, I try to be careful. It is my perception, actually. You can't clearly see, but it's my perception. It's like really Tommy Tallarico came into this with no clue what he was doing, right? And so it seems easy, right? Oh yeah, you make some plastic molds, and you pay someone to make a board. You get a few game developers on board, and you make a system, right?
Yep.
It is my opinion. I think like he had no idea when he decided to put that touch screen on his controller that it is not trivial. You know, these things they're not like that. You know, sometimes people who know nothing about design or software or something like that, they're like, "Oh, why don't you just put this on the software?" And it's like, well, we don't put this on the software because it would increase the cost by 3 times, right? And it wouldn't really give us enough benefit to, you know, to justify it. But if you're not a designer, you don't know that. So again, like, oh, let's put a touch screen in there. Yeah, okay, but now you have to stream video from this controller to the console, right? Now you have a bigger battery on there. So this is all going to drive the cost up. This is the other thing that I was talking about. Like one thing is you can't talk about a product in a vacuum, but the other thing is whenever you're talking about design, you can't talk about good design without weighing in the price, right? It's not some, we talk as if there is some magical thing that, oh, the Amico is $250. There's nothing we could have done about it. Well, there was something you could have done about it. You should have done what every other company does. You start with the price point you want to reach. And if your price point is $150, which is what you need, then you design your product around that. And if a dumb touch screen that's not going to be used in a significant way in 90% of your games is driving up your cost away from your 150 to 250, take it out. Why do not more consoles have LED stripes of RGB LEDs around there? Because, well, you're increasing the bullet of material of your product for no reason. I mean, it doesn't, it's not good enough. It's not like, again, oh, but it's cool. Yeah, it's cool, but it's not cool enough that it's worth the increase of cost. So that's why no one else, it's not revolutionary design that, oh, nobody thought about it before. It's like, no, it's not that nobody thought about it. Nobody was stupid enough to do it. That is the problem.
Sometimes you got to think, just because we can do something, should we do it? And I don't
Yeah,
think Tommy has that ability.
yeah. Well,
It is my
I
belief,
don't
Leo,
know.
that
Yeah, yeah. I don't
Tommy
know, but
Tommy thought that he.
yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? I think I really think like again, if the games were using, oh yes, we use the touch screen. You can select the color of your fish on the touch screen. Okay, is that worth $100 though? And couple
No,
frames of lag, right? I don't think so. I'd rather have a console. Right, you can try to spin the narrative that I only say this because I hate Tommy Tallarico, but I legitimately believe that, you know, a console is a better console with a just cheaper price point and less lag, right? And then let me have me choose the control, like, sorry, the color of the fish on the screen, and done, and give me buttons, then right, physical buttons that you press that are much better than a touch screen, right? We originally had a resistive touchscreen, but I thought, who makes resistive touchscreens anymore? Even cheap 3D printers. Yeah, yeah, sure. I'm not even sure it's. I'm not sure a resistive touchscreen at this point is even cheaper anymore than a capacitive one, because it might be so rare nowadays. I'm not sure.
Well,
I'm
that
not.
could have
I don't
led
know.
to that could have been the reason why he just changed. He might have figured, you know what, they're not cheaper, or the cost difference is so little now that fuck it, I will just go to the capacitive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't
It,
know. Like, there are
to
so
go
many.
to go back to your earlier point, Leo, about Tommy saying, you believe that he thought it was going to be so easy to create a console and everything. It's my belief that Tommy thought that he was such a big name in the industry that as soon as he announced this, that he didn't have to have anything ready, any games, any developers lined up, that he would just announce this and people would flock to the system, wanting to get in on this whole Tommy Tallarico system. And then when that didn't happen, that's when he's had to resort to these unknown German developers, you know, trying to find any game that he could fit from mobile or the web to throw onto his system. That's my belief as to why we are where we're at.
Well, that could very much be it, because if you, I mean, from what I could gather, right? I mean, Tommy is a person that do have a lot of contacts in the industry. He has been around for the longest time, right? And so he knows all these people. He's definitely like friendly with a lot of different people in the industry that he can contact and invite and all that. But that's the thing, when you're doing business, right? And people are gonna look at the Amico and they're gonna go like, okay, can I make more money on this than on Nintendo Switch? Yes or no? And it doesn't matter how friendly they are with Tommy, how much they like Tommy or not, right? Like a businessman, when they're making a business decision, that's the nature of the profession. They're gonna do whatever makes them the most money. Period. That it really like, otherwise you're being incompetent by definition. You're a
Yep.
businessman. Your mission is to make money, and so yeah, you're totally right that he might be might have been very disappointed that like people weren't, because again, I mean, so far it's a huge risk, and people don't like taking a risk if they don't need to. Like, we know the gaming industry, generally speaking, don't like taking risks. Like, they like sequels, they like stuff, right? They're
They
not
like
trying to revolutionize everything every time, because it's
nope.
only gonna work like 1 out of 10 times or 1 out of 100.
They want an easy layup. They want a game franchise that they know is going to make money. They could just pump out, and just do that year after year. Look at FIFA. They don't even change the game. It's basically the same game with a new roster.
Yeah, yeah. And again, uh, I- as because I've been talking, but me personally, for example, as a gamer, right? If we forget all the Tommy Tallarico things, if you just objectively looked at it, and I always try to, like, when I did my YouTube content on this, I always try to go from this perspective, right? I'm just looking at this from a gamer's perspective, right? Like,
Yeah.
do I want a game to be on the Intellivision Amico, right? The only games I want to be on the Intellivision Amico are the ones who I think are going to be better on the Amico than they would be on the other consoles. So again, do I want Finnegan Fox, Rigid Force, even Astro Smash? Because you cannot convince me that Astro Smash is better played on that Amico controller than on any of the traditional. You're moving right and left, you have a shot and a teleport, like two face buttons and a D-pad. That's it. Like, that's the best way. That the controller is not going to give you anything better. It's going to be worse. So again, and you don't have the graphics power. It's not cheap to compensate for that. I already own a PlayStation 4, so put your game on. That's what I want. That's the perspective of a gamer. If you don't have some specific reason to want to enjoy the Intellivision Amico, you don't really have a reason to want to play these games on there, especially like the other games that already exist, like Rigid Force and where. So uh, it's just, again, when we're looking at it, at the project, and thinking about all these things, most of what I see about it, it just really doesn't make any sense. Even when I try it as objectively as possible to look at it.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Looking at it objectively as a gamer, there's nothing that the Amico offers me that I can't get anywhere else. There's nothing it offers me that does better than other consoles on the market. Looking at it objectively as a non-gamer, there's nothing on the Amico that's going to make me plunk down $250 when I could just use my cell phone to play cell phone games that are free, have better graphics, are more, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? More addictive, and I can play online, and I can also watch things on my phone. I can watch Netflix, YouTube. Can't even watch YouTube on the Amico.
True. It's not even because if you wanna have a hyper casual thing, right, for people to put on the television, you would want at least that kind of stuff like Netflix, YouTube, or whatever else services. I don't even use a lot of those, but that's the hyper casual wants that, right? If you have a machine that does that for a good price point, and they can play some games on there too that are easy to pick up and play.
Disney Plus. I mean, how could you not have Disney Plus on a console marketed at kids? That should be a no-brainer right there.
Your on your television, and then how much are you going to pay for all that? But how much does a PlayStation 4 cost, or the Xbox One S? Nobody talks about that, because why would we? But if you're just looking at it, you know like, you're just objectively looking at it, it's a better value. Just buy an Xbox One S, right? Where you have
Right.
all the entertainment and all those things from that Microsoft can, and all the partners, right, can provide all those services and all that. And again, but just a cheap Android box. If you're not super into games, you get your Android box, you'll play your games on the TV too. You get Dynablasters on an Android box, I'm pretty sure, right? It's there.
Yep. Let me ask you this, Leo, because you have kids, right?
I have one kid, a daughter.
Okay. Does she have a DVD player?
Uh, what uh, we have a DVD player in a cupboard, however we call it. It's a start away because we don't need it.
No. I was just wondering because I know a lot of people have DVD players in their kids'
Oh,
room, so they can
okay,
watch movies and stuff. And
okay.
now, what would you do if I said, you know what, you could buy a DVD player that will not play any movies over PG-13? It would only play movies that are PG,
Yeah, okay.
but pay me the exact same price as a regular DVD player. Would that make any sense?
Well, it would not make any sense, right? And of course, I know where you're going at. This is the biggest problem with this idea from Tommy, is that unless he goes around smearing Nintendo and making those claims everywhere, nobody knows there were mistakes with the rating of some games. Nobody who's a hyper casual gamer, casual gamer who's not hardcore into gaming knows there are like these crazy Japanese sexually charged games on the Nintendo Switch. Nobody relates that. And Tommy has this narrative that the Nintendo Switch is for hardcore gamers, something of the sort, which is, in my opinion, is completely ludicrous. Like, everybody knows Nintendo, and everybody, when they think like they're gonna buy their kids a family-friendly console, they think of Nintendo and they want to buy Nintendo. So again, unless he creates this narrative and he starts spreading around that Nintendo has rape and sex and violence in their consoles, nobody thinks that. Nobody will buy it in Intellivision Amico to go get away from the violence of Mario. It's just not going to happen. It's
From the
not a
violence of Mario.
strategy. It's not a strategy again, because again, nobody knows that.
Yeah, that was really where I was going with, because nobody thinks of the Switch as a violent system, as a
No,
sexually charged system, and
no.
even people who say, you know what, there are, Mortal Kombat type games on the Sony PlayStation, they just won't buy that particular game for their kids. No one's going, you know what, my 5-year-old should be playing Call of Duty. They should be playing Mortal Kombat 11. They just don't buy those games until they get to the
And
age when they can play them games.
and this is my major point about all these things, because oh, you don't, people don't want to set parental controls and this and that. This is exactly the point. When you buy a Nintendo Switch, you don't need to know how to use parental controls. If you are afraid that your child is going to use the Nintendo Switch online, buy something they shouldn't, play something they shouldn't, talk to someone they shouldn't, you don't need to connect it to the internet. You just don't put the Wi-Fi code in there. Don't even connect it. Just buy the Switch and buy the physical games that are actual physical games that don't even need the internet at all to download, and give that to your child, and you are 100% sure that child cannot have possibly access to anything they shouldn't. It's physically impossible. It's much
Right.
safer than the Amico, where you might need to connect to the internet and then you might screw up something with your credit card there, and your child ends up buying the entire library for the system. It's like you're 100% safe as long as the thing is 100% offline, and you can't do that with Nintendo. I talk this from personal experience because that's what my friends do. I am home with my daughter usually when she plays. I can take a look. Now she's 9. She's pretty smart. I mean, we never had a problem. She plays with the PlayStation 4. And it's okay. But my friends who bought their kids a console, they just did this. They buy the console, they give them physical games, and they don't connect online. Both with the Nintendo Switch that one of my daughter's friends have, and the other friends of her have a PlayStation 4, and they have the physical games. That's it. You plug them in, you play the games, zero worries. Zero. There is nothing to worry about.
Yeah, I've never had an issue with my kid buying anything they shouldn't, downloading games they shouldn't, making purchases with my credit card, because uh, I would like to think that I'm at least a decent parent. I take responsibility for what is, what credit cards are uploaded to my PlayStation, how they can use it, how it's being used. It sends me alerts anytime a purchase is made on the PlayStation, even if it's a free purchase. I get an email alert right away. So all these stories of parents who, oh my God, this kid racked up a $10,000 bill. You were just a shitty parent. That's what it comes down to. It has nothing to do with Nintendo or the mobile phone or Sony or Microsoft. It was just you, and now you don't want to take responsibility for your shitty parenting. You're trying to pull it off on someone else.
Yeah. Well, I don't like judging. I know of some of these, of course, like uh, media, shows these stories and they paint them in a certain light. Of course, there is the exploitative nature but I mean, there is a lot of that. There are a lot of problems. Um, and yeah, I mean, I always try to like give my daughter good games to play, right? Like know what she's playing. I think that's the way to go. And also in the same topic, uh, the solution of buying this one console that doesn't have any problematic content in there to protect your kids, that is a very poor approach, because you cannot uh, it's like you can't keep your kids away from the online environment. You will need to learn how to deal with it, and you'll need to teach your children to deal with it. You can't escape, like you can't bury your head in the sand forever. So your kid is gonna have like live in this little bubble until they're 10 or 12 or 13, whatever age you're gonna choose for that, and then you're gonna open them up for all this online stuff without them being prepared for it, without you being prepared for it, right? Like you can't.
Yep.
That's not a good approach. If you're a parent in the 21st century, you need to learn parental controls. You need to teach your child how to use, online digital stuff. And that's the way it is. There is no escape to that. The solution is not to ignore. Just a second. But the solution is not to ignore those technologies. You just have to learn to deal with them. And just give me a second.
It says,
I'm back. This was just a short question here from my wife.
you don't have a wife. I was told that specifically none of us who do not like the Amico have any kind of family. We don't have
Yeah,
friends. We live in
yeah, true.
basement.
True. Yeah. Um, yeah, those are the interesting things, because like very often I hear the descriptions of the haters, right? And it's like I'm like, well, I'm clearly not a hater, because I don't fit like almost anything in this description. So uh, and there are, yeah, if we're gonna talk about that, oh, why do you want things to fail? Why do you want us to fail? Like, no, I mean, I don't know who wants the Amico to fail. Maybe someone does. Maybe there are some people out there with a, you know, uh, who hate Tommy for some reason, right? Like,
Yeah.
I want of course, I want the Amico to be awesome. I want the Amico. I don't want the Amico to fail. I want it to be good, right? Do you
I
want
don't
the
think
Amico to be bad?
I don't think anybody wants the Amico to fail. I don't think anyone wants to be bad. Why would we want a bad product to hit the market?
Yeah, I don't get anything from it. I don't get any satisfaction from seeing Tommy Tallarico fail at something just because he said some stupid stuff on the internet, right? It's like I'm not like that. I don't have this huge grudge. I called him out on him, faking stuff about me online, the way he smears me. One of the other things that really got me into uh, trouble with the Cyrus and the other guys is that Cyrus Martin and Retro Bro, they both made videos on Pat the NES Punk, and they were attacking Pat the NES Punk's like person, his character, like as you were saying before, right? Like they do to you, they do to me. But that back then they weren't doing that to me. Tommy was doing that to you. Um, but and I was kind of like, dude, like what you guys are saying is utter bullshit. Pat DNS Punk never lied about the television Amico. There is no reason to believe that the guy has this crazy, incredible hate towards Tommy. And so why are you guys doing that? So
Um,
hey, we have sensible person. Yeah, you go,
yeah, I was just gonna
Tommy.
say, sensible person has joined the stream. What's up? How would you like to be referred to? SP, sensible person, person.
It's a pseudonym, obviously. It's not my real name. And nice to see Leo and Tony. I've never done this before, so I'm usually someone who does this sort of thing in text chat. Thanks for including me. I'm just coming in late, so I'm not sure what you guys have actually talked about. So I might just hang back a bit.
So far, we've just covered Leo's introduction to the Amico, his initial thoughts, how it's evolved. We've covered a little bit about the Fig campaign and why we thought that was maybe misleading to the general public.
Oh, what a bad deal.
Um,
It's a terrible deal. If anybody's looked into the fine print of that thing, it's like shockingly bad. All of the caveats on it are it's like you can start to get a break on money if Tony Tallarico makes $30 million, and it's a certain percentage if they're from direct sales only, and that's cut in half if they're retail sales, and after a year that gets cut in half or completely cut off. I forget the details. It's quite convoluted.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
scary enough to make you think that not you donate to this because you believe in the cause, not because you're going to get anything back. And it
so
yeah.
seems like a
you're not a
holy
fan of the
war
deal.
for people.
True, and that's the whole point, right? Like the cause would be bring families together, make something new and different, that's special, that no one ever did before, and that hasn't been shown. It
Do you think
hasn't been
that's
shown so far.
like the Trojan, just the reason for it, and the actual thing is, let's bring back Intellivision in name only, at least for the old guys, and for Tommy to have an ego trip, obviously. I mean, the more I hear about their 30 billion or $3 billion, 3 billion casual gamer addressable market, it, it's amazing that they can say it with a straight face. It really is. I mean, you've got to shoot for the moon to get funders, I guess. I guess this is the game you play in LA. I guess you just got to be large in life to get any attention at all. But it's such a huge lie. It's so over the top ridiculous. That's what infuriates me. And I've seen the same thing from you, Leo.
For me, I mean, I understand a company's going to try to pitch a certain way. It's going to try to say that they're looking for the most amount of people.
Sure.
But then you have to show something that's actually reflective of these things that you said, these talking points. Now, as I said to Carl the other day, I'm like, the most popular mobile games, there is no game that's an equivalent on the Amico for you to say, we're trying to get into that market. It's just empty words at this point, I think.
Well, there is a
Unless we go ahead.
yeah, I'll go. There is a lot to say about that because I'm not interested in mobile, generally speaking. But the thing is, even this in 2021, you have to change this vision of what mobile game is, because Minecraft is mobile game. Uh, uh, what is that other one, like the that all the kids play, like all these
Fortnite.
games that are the Fortnite. These are mobile games, and there are tons of others. Like even Call of Duty is a mobile game, and these games are making millions upon millions of dollars. When you're talking about the mobile market, and you think you're still talking about Angry Birds, it means you don't know the market. And I don't really know the market very well, but I started taking a look for it at it, recently, just out of curiosity. And again, it's not right. This market of uh, uh, Candy Crush is in there too. Don't get me wrong, right? But it's a huge market, and you cannot. These are different categories, like casual gaming and hardcore gaming have nothing to do anymore with mobile gaming or console gaming or PC gaming. The platforms are the platforms, but you can be a hardcore gamer on mobile, on the Switch, on the PlayStation, or the PC, or you can be a casual in any of these platforms. So again, the and that is what always bothers me about this stuff that Tommy says, and the way people, the his followers treat it. It doesn't even make any sense what he's saying. Right? It's not like, oh, I kind of agree or disagree. It doesn't even make any sense. And like,
No, it makes
so
absolutely
how are
no
you
sense on the
discussing it?
face of it. It's like he slept through the last 10 years of the big mobile race to the bottom. I'm really into mobile. I think it's great. I'm friendly with the Touch Arcade people, and that's I've been watching that market, and I try a lot of things, and we've seen that market go from AAA copies of by Gameloft, where things were $10, then $5, than $0 with free to play, where you're going to buy smart berries and coins and things to level up. And that's where the money is. That's why they do it. Instead of somebody paying once and then you have to maintain a thing for forever and ever ad infinitum, you get paid as people use it. And I think it's a reasonable model. I don't think it's a ripoff. I think if you're going to give somebody your attention and your time, it's reasonable to give them your money as well. I don't think that's a bad model, especially with the mobile operating systems that expect you to keep up with these things. And it's fun. You can have a live service. Every place is an arcade, with your friends in it. There's nothing wrong with that. And Tommy wants it flipped on its head. That's great. Fund up front, pay once. People think they want that, but it's kind of a dying model. You have to be like a cartridge collector is going to be interested in that. Someone who really liked the retro BGS concept is going to be tied to that model. I get it, but I don't see it being sustainable, and it just seems like a bait and switch, just a trick to get people's investment money.
I hope I'm back. I exited.
Yeah, you're back.
You're back.
Okay.
Yeah, my thoughts on mobile is if you actually play mobile, I don't think Tommy plays mobile other than maybe Candy Crush. He's not familiar with the variety and the fact that, a lot of the games that are making money, because he's always talking about how much money mobile games make, how much they earn every year. He doesn't take into consideration a lot of games. They do make their money off of advertising. You'll play a game, you'll play a level, and then you'll get an ad for a different mobile game, and you don't actually pay, but the second mobile developer, they're paying the first one to advertise on their game. That's how they make the money. And that is calculated into the profits made by the mobile companies. And I don't think he's aware of that. And I think that he dismisses that like we don't know what we're talking about. Like you can't Google this information.
Well, I think there's a 1% problem with any entertainment really, but it's particularly extreme with mobile. You get your top percent of the app store that people are actually interested, and that they take the lion's share of everybody. Most developers, most indie developers, most garage developers don't make any money on mobile. That Evil Knievel joint probably didn't make much on that. They were happy to see the Salarico money come their way. But the other thing about the spend that they talk about, it's ridiculous. He thinks we're completely innumerate, and it's insulting to our intelligence to say, the average mobile gamer spends $87 a year. Yeah, okay, the average spend is going to be $87 per year. And that means that some whale is spending $1,000. And the vast majority, vast majority, this is demonstrably true, they spend nothing. And that's why these things are popular. That's why they have the audience. It's been a race to the bottom, and it's been like that for years. It is not a surprise. And breaking it, to think he can break into this just by doing things differently, the way we did back in 1982. That's great. He thinks that. It's adorable that the AtariAge and the Relic Gamer types want to follow him around and do their little streams. I think that's great. I think they're having a grand old time. They're making friends. Some of them are making some drama with each other. That's sort of fun to watch, I guess. But for the idea that these investors are going to see a penny back from what they put in, that this thing is going to take off, it's absurd on its face. Last time Intellivision put out that plug and play thing that Keith Robinson talks about. Do you know what I'm talking about? You probably didn't see that in Europe, Leo, but there were many different iterations of it. It started off as a Nintendo on a chip with reprogrammed games from presumably Chinese programmers. They redid the Tron game. They redid the old basketball and baseball and football games, and it was a pretty good simulation of what the old games were, but they weren't the same. And the sound was terrible. It was RCA Jackson. It was purely analog AV stuff, and it was like 2004, 2005.
Sure.
And Keith Robinson said they sold millions of those, which is neat, I guess. I mean, back then, with the flooding the channel the way they did, it was less than $20 for each of these. They did like a 12-in-1, a 2-player one, a 25-in-1. I have no doubt that they sold a lot of these things as gag gifts and giveaway and white elephant presents. But the Amico's not in that ballpark at all. $250. And the other thing about those plug and plays is that they predated mobile. They predated the Wii. They were super casual and they were super early and primitive. I guess you could get away with a garbage, Tiger Electronics quality thing in Walmart at a low enough price. I guess you could squeeze enough out into the channel, but that's not what they're doing with this thing. From everything they've said, they want to make it a quality thing. They're certainly taking a sweet old time getting it out. It's not an at games thing where they squeeze it out with an interest in this, where the schedule trumps the quality.
Well, but even that, I mean, even at games and these other companies, they're getting better. It's like I haven't talked about that at all, but because of all the Evercade content that I do, I bought this Anbernic uh, RG351V. Like, this is a Chinese
Yep.
made by a Chinese company,
With the Ingenic
handheld.
CPU, those are great.
It's not what we knew from China from 10 years ago. Even this, right, has evolved. It's like the screen is amazing. Like, the controls are good. They're not great, but they're good. The build quality overall is good, and it plays like NES, SNES, even PlayStation. I played very little yet, but I played Symphony of the Night, and I couldn't see a problem with it. Played good. I even tested input lag already, and it's actually pretty low. Like, I got 2 frames of input lag, of emulation lag. Like,
Is that on the built-in or can you do HDMI out with that?
it's this one doesn't have HDMI out.
Yeah, so that's
I mean,
on the
maybe
native
it has. Maybe it has through this. This was on the native screen.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even matter because it's the native screen also needs an interface, and it's either going to use HDMI or something of the sort.
Do you remember what you
HDMI
paid for
doesn't
that? Was
have
that
to.
like about 100 euros maybe?
No, I paid 85 for it.
Nice.
Yeah, 85 euros for this Embernic, and it's again, I'm through the process. I don't do these YouTube reviews that play 5 minutes and make a review, right? I have to play it for multiple hours, have it for a week or two before I really talk about it. But again, as we're talking, right? Like, you're talking about these cheap things, but even the cheap things nowadays, even these impulse buys, even this, like, it was a joke review, right? But I reviewed the Cool Baby 521, right? It's a crap Chinese console that cost me, I don't know how much, $20, imported directly from China, just came wrapped in bubble wrap, now with a sticker on it, no box, no nothing. But it's this NES clone. And this is the thing, like, you have more good games. It's illegal, but you have more good games in that thing than the Amico is probably ever going to have. You have Contra and Mario 1, 2, and 3,
Oh,
and a
you can
bunch of
play
crazy.
public domain things on that as well. You can play Powder, and you can play like Minesweeper, Linux type things, and open source port like the Chocotoon port. You can play Wolfenstein, the open
Yeah,
source
true.
port. You have to bring your own files. You have to bring your own levels and stuff from your commercially purchased games. But I've been following those things. I don't have like everything, not everything. There's a million of them. There's like a new one every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I've held off on getting the most recent one because I've got an analog pocket on order, which I know is coming in the fall. But they all use the same processor, which is interesting. But I've got a collection of these, and they're all really good. They all have like a fatal flaw, like the battery doesn't charge right, or the buttons are a little clickier than I want. But they're definitely workable, and they're not. You don't have to get them. You don't have to. They don't have to fall off a truck for you to get them anymore. You can, with AliExpress and Amazon, you can get them shipped anywhere for reasonable amounts of money, with places that you can be fairly assured they're not going to rip you off.
True. I got mine from eBay, from a seller with great reputation, and that usually works very well too.
I
Um,
usually get mine from AliExpress, and they take a month to come in from China, but they're cheaper that way.
yeah, yeah. Can I ask you, do you know how big the screen on the analog pocket is?
I can Google it. I believe it's like 3.5 inches like the others, but let me take a
If
quick
it's three and a
quick.
half, it's actually pretty good because I was thinking when they announced it, I was thinking like, oh, 3.5 inches is kind of small. But for that's a 1x1, right? It's a square screen they have because it's probably a VR screen.
I've got the
But
specs up
actually,
here, 3.5 inches, and it's
yeah, it's actually pretty good.
yeah. But I think the selling point of it is it's very high resolution and like really pin sharp.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and the right resolution too, which is another problem with the Nburnic and Powkitty and those things. They don't always. Sometimes they're widescreen and it's not as nice. But the one you got is the right. Yeah, this is
that doesn't
1600 by
matter.
1440, 615 ppi. I think a
Yes,
Retina iPhone screen is like 325. So that's insanely
yes.
sharp. That's a lot of
What,
dots.
Tony, are you okay with this off topic? Because uh, this is just one.
This
The
perfectly fine. There's no
the
problem. I'm not as
Well,
the
technical as you guys.
the
well,
Ambernic that I have, it has a 4x3 aspect ratio screen, right? But the problem is the following: like we think that like, oh, you have 480 by 640 resolution, 4x3, and that's double as much as what these consoles output, but it's not actually, right? Because the consoles, they output all these weird resolutions. Each console has a different one. So actually the image quality on this screen, if we had to reduce the size of the screen and make the image too thin to actually have a crisp image, or you'll have to, if you expand it, you'll have to add some filter that blurs the image. It's not easy. And
yeah,
the
because otherwise
solution
you
that
get like rectangular pixels when they should be square.
yeah, you
The,
get
the super,
shim.
super high resolution will help you with that. So that's
It
what
will
I'm looking forward to
it
with
will
this thing.
absolutely help. Like a lot of people look at the specs for the analog pocket console and they think, oh, this is ridiculous. You don't need like a ultra high resolution to play these games, but it's actually going to make a big difference, and it's going to make the image quality amazing on that. I didn't pre-order that, but it is got the screen resolution is going to make a difference. It's not just
Yeah.
a dumb thing just to
Well,
say.
if the
It's
quality
going
is
to make a
as
difference.
high as their other products, they'll do another
Yeah.
run. You'll be able to get one. It'll. Waiting for the reviews is perfectly reasonable, I think. Um, but their other stuff has been great. I'm looking at the Amico screen specs for the little for the sort of fat boy ice cream sandwich sized Nokia phone looking things. They've got 3.2 inch 4x3 TFT LCD capacitive touchscreen, full color, 320 by 240 QVGA at 125 points per inch versus analog. What did I say? 615. I mean, there's no. It's going to be like the Atari Flashback portable in screen quality.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll look better from different angles. It looks, from what I've seen,
Is
it
it
looks pretty.
IPS?
Ooh, which one?
Is the Amico, does they say IPS?
No, which means it is. Which suggests it's not. I'd say.
Probably means it's not. Probably PN. Yeah,
Who
but
knows? Yeah.
3.2 inches is not that bad, actually. I was thinking the screens were going to be super tiny, but it's not that bad.
They look
It's not
small
that bad.
in the big chunky case that they're shipping in,
Yeah,
and when
yeah.
Tommy, who's not large, holds it, it looks like a big. Um, it looks like an ice cream bar to me.
It's a big
What
chunk.
was the aspect ratio again for the Amico?
Uh, 320 by 240. So that would be 4x3. I get no. What is that?
No, that's 3x2, I think.
3 by. Okay.
Yeah, just like the 351p.
Hold on. This 3 point, and it's 3.2 inches. It's not 3.5. 3.2
Yeah,
inch
yeah,
diagonal. Yeah.
3.2. So
Pocket is
if
3.5.
if it's 3x2, even at the same inches, it's actually less area than a 4x3, right? If it's
Yeah.
thinner, it's a smaller area. total. So it's considerably smaller. It's going to be considerably smaller than a 5-inch 4x3, but
Do
it's
you
still
think
not
that
minuscule.
do you think that people are projecting what they want to see onto that? I mean, it's we've seen very little of the actual controller. We've seen what it can do, but we haven't actually. It hasn't run through any of its paces, and I have a feeling anybody who thinks it's a Zune or it's like an iPod Touch is going to be like, no, it's really. It can show some static images and it can serve as a touch screen, but it's not playing any games on its own. It's not. It's not a phone. It's not going to. If they could put Snake on it or something, they'd be showing it. I think it's just going to be an input device. Have you guys heard anything else about that? I don't watch all the videos. They annoy me.
Well, from what Tommy said, Tommy has specifically said that it does not have enough power to run games on it. It doesn't have enough. You will need your phone to play certain games because the Amigo controller is that weak, and it only does, I think, 20 frames per second. So, yeah, it's probably just an input device with a screen on it for reasons.
20 frames a second for an input device is probably okay, I guess, when you consider you can play a fast game of Pong with the analog Atari paddles, right? They can't. Their sampling rate can't be that great. We need an engineer on here to talk about this, maybe.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
not an engineer.
the input lag testing that I did in the last video, where I showed the shark selection screen, clearly shows that the order that the color, like I took the video from Smash JT, where he's showing the screen and the controller, not the IGN GIF, the another video. And so when Smash JT touches the touch screen to select a color, the first thing that changes color after only a couple of frames is the disc itself. Okay. The next thing that changes color is the television, and then the controller. So it means the controller is internally having a firmware that runs the color of the disc and the LEDs, but it's taking the image from the console, right? It's not
I mean,
rendering.
it's being pushed.
It's not rendering.
The data's being pushed
It's
from
streaming.
the Android sock. Yeah, huh?
It's streaming the image, which is, I think it's a terrible mistake, because again, it's going to make any kind of action games completely unplayable, because the lag in that's why we see the lag, right?
Well, if
You see the lag in the IGN video, in the Smash JT video, also you can see the discrepancy.
Maybe they'll fix it, but for the Tellerico guy to be saying that they're in this for the next 10 years, it's not going to be with this technology. Oh my goodness, it already looks 10 years old.
Let me jump in here real quick, guys. Did either one of you see the teaser video that Tommy put out for E3?
Yeah, why did he obfuscate the? He said he talks about the controller, then it cuts away to this blue and white sort of fuzzed out thing. You can see that it's not doing anything. It's still in a pairing mode, but he waves it around. But it's like they don't want Leo to look at it too closely.
Yeah, well,
was that for style and fashion, or was that to hide things? It's hard to tell.
I think it was
guys.
To probably to hide things, because you could see that as he moves slightly, the controller is trying to reorientate itself with the gyroscope. It's that sensitive.
Wow. Does it seem to react, or is it slow and laggy like the demos you've shown?
It seems to overreact. It seems like it's he moves his hand slightly, and it wants to right away flip, like it's flipping way too soon.
Well, a gyro like that is an off-the-shelf part. You can buy you buy those in bulk and you stick them in your devices. I mean, I'm sure the sensitivity can be calibrated and adjusted, and whatever they do with it in software is their job.
Yes, it's a software thing. Tommy has talked about this a while back, at least a month back, when we were talking about the lag. He was talking about that they were like setting the sensitivity for cornhole because it was too sensitive. As I was talking, like people talking about the lag, but actually it's too responsive, right? But which has nothing to do with lag. Actually, it's just it's just a calibration. He always says all these stupid things,
Yeah.
right? I don't even reply to everything. I can't. I actually have a life, unlike what they think. So I can't go around refuting every little stupid thing that the guy says.
No,
But
Tommy does what's called the Gish Gallop. He will spew out as much stuff as he possibly can, and he will try to wear you out. He'll waste your time. He doesn't care, and he'll put out obnoxious things to try to annoy you, to get you to respond in anger, and then he can say, "Look how angry he is." He's very
yeah,
manipulative.
true. That's exactly how it is. But again, he was talking about cornhole, calibrating the motion controls, and that they were having, it was too sensitive, and so they're trying to find the correct curves and all that.
Yeah, that's going to be hard. I mean, the Wii bowling is hard to get that right too. I don't think those games are quite as everybody friendly as they say they are. I know lots of people who aren't going to be bothered with the fussiness of that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how expensive it is to buy a good sensor, right? I know the original Wii sensor was not very sensitive, but that's old tech. I don't know how much it evolved.
They had a version 2 called the Wii Sensor Plus or
Yeah,
something, and it was
yeah,
built into the
Wii.
later remotes, and you could plug it into the old
Yeah,
ones. Um,
yeah,
and I believe that tech was on anything that was made for the Wii U as well. Again, that was old too. That's 10 years ago, right? Easily.
yeah. But this is the thing. Is that expensive to make? Are all these sensors the same quality? I don't know that. I'm just
But
saying. So I'm not.
isn't that the Amico story in general? It's like, oh, we've got RFID, we've got flashing lights, we've got screens, we've got tilt, we've got shake, we've got AR in our in our mobile app, but we had to take it out because it didn't work right. You can buy all the gimmicks in the world. You can buy all the licenses in the world. You can buy MLB and Cornhole and Evil Knievel if you live in the 1970s and don't know what year it is. And it comes down to what you do with the licenses. I've said this before, that I swear this guy seems to equate buying things with achievements. Yes, he has a fancy car. Does that make him smart? Doesn't seem like it to me.
To bring it back to the lag talk, if you guys watched the OEB Pete Miko All Access last week, Tommy
Yeah.
did show off. He showed off Finnegan Fox playing. He had the controller. He had it on his TV in his house. He was playing it. Now he didn't show the controller and the TV screen at the same time. He was very
Why did
careful about it.
why didn't he show his hand? What is he afraid of?
But if you actually watch the video, and if you've played Finnegan Fox, you'll know that as you depress the button, he jumps higher. If you give a little half press, a little tap, he'll do a little tap jump.
Yep.
So Tommy was trying to jump onto one of the berries that comes out. He was having a very difficult time. Now, is it because of lag? Is it because the buttons weren't being pressed down? He was using the touch screen. Was he trying to double jump and it wasn't registering correctly because of the lag? There's a lot of questions around that video. He's trying to use that video as proof that there was no lag and blah blah blah. But if you actually know the game itself and you know what's going on, you can
Yeah.
see little things.
I
There is
have that
one
game.
point.
I've played that game. I can't remember. I think it's a tap to small jump, hold to big jump, and I think there's a double jump in it.
There is a
It's
double
not
jump.
it's not a great game. It's not. I remember when Rayman was on from France was on the Jaguar, and that was supposed to be the big killer, and then it was a PlayStation launch game, and nobody liked it. This thing is no Rayman. This thing is. It's a nice little game. Um, I enjoyed getting it for 250 on the Switch or whatever I paid. It was not a lot. It's not going to hold anybody's interest, but I could try to. I'll look at the OEB Pete thing and see if I can replicate the um, stage he was trying to do. See how hard it is with a hard button controller.
And here's the other thing. In that same video, when Tommy's jumping, you can see he's trying to jump. Suddenly, the game pauses. Now, when he showed the screen, he showed that the big part of the screen was the jump, and it had Finnegan Fox jumping, so you knew what was the jump. There was a little section for the pause to go to the menu screen, and there was another little button on the screen. So Tommy, with his small hands, he's a small guy. He's not a giant of a man, but he was somehow was able to accidentally touch the wrong part of the screen. Either he accidentally paused the game, or the controller completely screwed up because he was hitting the jump and it paused the game anyway.
That sounds like a delightful experience for
Yeah,
your
well,
child or
yeah,
your grandparent.
yeah. The button is in the way, right? Because if you this home button that they have is if you're holding the Amico controller as a iPod, right? Which is what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's on the top. So once you turn it to the right and you're using the touch screen to jump, that button's right in the way of your thumb. And it's super annoying. I have this problem with the Evercade. The Evercade has the start and select buttons under the 4 face buttons. So it's really easy to press with your thumb the start button that's on the right when you're rocking your finger back and forth between the um, what is this Y and B buttons for the Nintendo Switch layout, right? Um, and on the D-pad, they have the menu button under the D-pad. So again, you're rocking your finger around on the D-pad, and you end up hitting, and it's the exact same thing. The button is right there on the line of fire for your thumb. But listen, that you guys have touch screens, you know this. Sometimes they activate without you even touching them because of how resistive the capacitive thing works. Like these magnetic fields and these things, they don't need contact, right? Electromagnetic fields, they don't need contact. So depending on
Sometimes,
the calibration, it's either too sensitive or not sensitive enough.
But here's the
here's
thing about. Go ahead, Tony.
I was gonna say, on my phone, if I don't have the brightness all the way up, like if I have brightness at say 50%, and then I go outside in the sun, the shadows will literally start activating things on my phone.
Mm-hmm. Crazy. Yeah, and again, each finger is different, right? The capacitiveness of of different fingers from different people is different. So children might have problems playing this if the sensitivity is set too low, but other people might have the problem of the button presses registering before they touch the screen. If again, all these things, I never made it. Again, there are all these accusations, right, that I'm trying to destroy, that we're grasping at straws, trying to find ways I never went into a deep dive of all the problems that I have seen with this. This is just another one of those things, right? That if you actually think about it, this is the potential for problems that they're going to have that are not going to affect everyone, but they're going to affect some people in the, in the user base. That a touch screen
Yes,
adds to this
especially
thing.
when you
It's
consider
huge.
the limited testing a small company like this is going to be able to do. They're not going to be able to do the field testing and focus testing and alpha and beta testing that a Microsoft or a Sony or Nintendo or
Yeah.
even an
Especially
Apple
with focus.
indie developer would be able to do. But here's the thing I see about, number one, about nitpicking the technical flaws with this. We know it's not finished. We know they're still working on it, and that's fine. I'm all for giving them the benefit of the doubt for this. But even if it worked perfectly, uh, their marquee so-called AAA titles are Rigid Force, Redux, and Fox and Forest. these are C plus tier indie Switch games from the download store. These aren't system sellers, and there's only a few of them. I mean, even if you love those kind of games, even if you believe in Tommy Tallarico, where is the if you've got money to burn and want to collect everything, and yeah, that kind of makes sense, I guess. I feel like I was an Intellivision fan long ago. I'm a person of a certain age. I buy all this stuff. I buy more than I can ever play. Video games take a lot of time, more time than I've got more time. I've got more money than time, and I don't want the Amico. And if I don't want the Amico, and I'm willing to to give this crap the benefit of the doubt. I've got some nostalgia for it. I've got some affinity for retro gaming, and I don't even want to give this a chance. And I'm not that I want it to fail, but if without Tommy, I want to see him be more honest about it. I know he'll be humble at E3. I know we'll see, in that short thing we're going to see. He's already showing humility. He's already setting himself up to be like, yeah, we know we're just privileged. We're just happy to be here with the big boys. But the call it saying we have the Avengers and we have the guy who put together Xbox and we have the gal. He says gal. Who marketed the Wii and the Nintendo 64 on our marketing team, and we have the woman who sold the Disney princess dolls. The things wouldn't sell themselves. Just the hype and the overblowing and the huge gap between what's being promised and what's being delivered. It's just disgusting to me. It's just. Ugh.
Yeah, I agree. There is way too much hype. He's hyping things up, and then he's hyping things up that don't even exist. We know that Jay Allard was only there like a month or two, but he hyped that up to the moon until we pointed it out, until someone like me came out and said, hey, Jay Allard removed everything on his LinkedIn that has anything to do with Intellivision.
Oh yeah, he won't say anything until he's caught.
Right.
Kara Acker's gone as well. How long has she been gone? Has she ever done any work besides those videos? Who knows?
I think from my understanding, Kara Acker was just there for those couple of videos, and then she moved on to that new company that she's working with, selling appliances or something like that.
I think that's where she came from. Like Bosch, it's a big high-end appliance company out of Europe.
Yeah. So, like I said, he's hyping things up. Either he had no idea that Jay Allard left and Jay Allard just snuck away like a thief in the night, or he knew full well that Jay Allard wasn't there.
He knows. He's the CEO. He has to know. He just didn't want to be him. He hyped himself. I mean, he just can't help himself. He has to say, oh, he's so perfect. He's so great. There was I followed this thread on his AtariAge ego thread. It was remarkable. Do you know what I'm talking about? He's got this like 30,000 post thread on this retro video game forum.
I know the thread.
Yeah, he was teasing for a few weeks. Oh, I've got somebody really cool, and you're gonna love it. It's really gonna change the world. It's gonna shake everybody up, and it's gonna shut those haters down. And people were guessing: is it Ed Freese? Is it this person? Is it that person? And somebody actually guessed. Is it Jay Allard? And he said, no, it's not. And he kept on going on. And then he said, well, it's Jay Allard. Sorry, I just didn't want you to steal my thunder. He can't help himself. He just has to brag and boast and say, look at me, look at this, look what I've got, look how cool I am. Is it a sickness? Is it pure? It's not pure narcissism, because he seems to want to have some validation from people. He wants to show off. He's not like, oh, I'm the greatest. He wants to say he's the greatest. He wants you to think he's the greatest also.
Yeah,
but that Allard thing was insane. And then nothing. And then they reran an old podcast episode where Allard was interviewed side by side with Tommy. And it was in the can, and then I don't know if it was a slow week at the podcast studio, and they ran it again, but they gave the impression that Allard was still there, and he was long gone by the time this happened, and nobody said anything until I think it was you, Tony, that broke it. It's like, hey, how come he doesn't have this thing on his resume anymore? What's up with that? And then Tommy says, oh yeah, no, he was always here the whole time, and he was always here as just as a consultant, and he can come back in anytime. Allard's not going to say anything either. He's classy and doesn't want to throw his let me be kind here, his friend under the bus, or he signed a non-disparagement clause in an NDA, and he's not going to do it, or he'll get sued. Do you think we'll ever hear from Allard?
Well, here's the thing with that. Here's the thing. When I broke,
you think Allard is professional while Tommy is acting like a baby? I mean, that's it seems like tit for tat would be fair, but whatever.
Well, here's the thing. When I broke that Jay Allard wasn't there anymore, I had got that off of Wikipedia. Wikipedia already broke it before me. And I looked at it and I looked into it. So I made a video. And then Tommy commented that I was an idiot. I don't know what I'm talking about. He was never a full-time employee. He was only a contractor, and that he is still an advisor, and that, he just left. Because we were under the impression that he left in January, because that's when Wikipedia had updated. However, GeekWire, they had talked directly to Jay Allard, and Jay Allard broke it to them that he was only there like a month. So
And
that,
it's like, yeah, not a good fit. Yeah, so much for the
yeah.
global managing director. Oh yeah, he's just a part-time consultant. Yeah, global managing director.
But that directly contradicts, when Tommy came in there and he made that big aggressive post on YouTube on my video, that Jay Allard directly basically contradicted Tommy's idea that he was there for, several months until everything was done. Jay Allard basically was like, no, I went in there, wasn't a good fit, I left, and that was the end of it. And he didn't really want to say more. He didn't even do a follow-up. They tried to get a follow-up with him on it to ask him about Tommy's comments, and I guess he never answered them.
There's nothing in it for. I mean, nothing good can come out of Allard telling the story there, and it's
You
just hurt
guys,
people's feelings.
sorry, I'm not gonna stay long anymore. I have to go. Here in Germany, it's 11:15 in the afternoon, night. I do want to say one thing about because I agree the lag and the technicalities are not as relevant, right? Like, there's these frames of, until they have a decent game that's worth playing, it doesn't matter, right? But there is a problem. All that we have right now that we see about the Amico is 100% in a controlled environment. So if Tommy Tallarico is showing us the footage that he has, right, what we see is what is filtered by him, and what we see is, huge input lag, lost connection, wrong button presses, pausing the game when he doesn't want to. He can barely play the game that he's played multiple times, that he knows the game already. If that looks that bad, while it's in that controlled environment, just imagine when they release this to the public where the actual problems start happening. Like, either they are very far away from releasing this thing, or I don't think I mean, again, it's their little nitpicky technicalities that you wouldn't see at all normally in a
Yeah,
controlled
that
environment.
that would be the tough question that I would like an answer to, which you can't get an answer to because it's mean and nobody wants to do it. But is it pure denial, or do they not care? Because maybe they're thinking, oh, Rocky's going to pull it out in the end, and there's always a happy ending because Tommy's the lead of his own movie.
Right. Here's the thing that I think. I think that the whole point that Leo brought up is, when you get a lot of people in the ego thread, and a lot of people online making these videos, well, he'll just do a limited launch, he'll do a soft launch. I think these points that Leo brought up is the exact reason why he'll never do a soft launch. Because if he does a soft launch and there are problems will arise, people will be like, hey, I got this console, I did a review on YouTube, it's shit. Then that'll kill off all the buzz, all the pre-orders, the 100,000 Walmart purchase order, that'll all go away if there are videos online of people with actual Amicos that don't work or work crappily.
Maybe, but maybe these are the captive audience. Maybe there aren't as many as he says there are. Maybe they're not going to be allowed to bitch about it on AtariAge. I've noticed that the Atari VCS and Amico both have their own dedicated subforums, and the moderators are very rah-rah. Let's be nice to these things. Let's give them a chance. If you just want to piss on them, go somewhere else. They don't say that. I know some websites where we can. Truth is, nobody cares about this stuff. Seems to me they need a hard launch date if they're going to go for retailers. But Atari did it. They sent to their captive audience who had already paid 2 or 3 years ago. They seem perfectly happy with the underpowered PC that they got. It seems like the 10 people posting in the I Love Tommy Tallarico Q&A thread on AtariAge are going to be happy with whatever they get. They're going to they'll have a promise of Tron-like games to come. They'll have Utopia coming on. They're not mainstream consumers. They're not going to be. They're not going to savage this thing on. I don't. Where would they have a voice to do that? IGN's not going to touch it. Metacritic's not going to touch it. It's not going to be in a. I don't know. It strikes me as like a vanity press kind of. If the three of us were to put out a self-published book of our memoirs on this thing and put it on Amazon, who's going to care? It's not even going to get bad reviews. It's just going to get ignored.
That is probably true. Leo, I know you said you wanted to leave, but before you left, I wanted to get your thoughts on what you think that is going to be shown at E3 for the Amico.
Yeah, good question. And to be honest, because this is their E3 showing and nobody actually knows anything about Intellivision Amico, I believe what we're going to see is the same things we've been seeing. Because this is one of the mind-blowing things about this project, is that a year has transcorred, and I don't really remember seeing much new at all. We have seen some different footage from some games that were shown a year ago, right? But in this past year,
they've taken some things away. A few features and
yeah,
pieces of software have been dropped.
yeah, true, exactly. So what I expect to see is, Tommy Tallarico talking about how awesome he is, talking about how amazing his team is, and how awesome Intellivision is, and then he will show some Shark and some Astro Smash, Rigid Force, whatever. He's gonna talk about his controller that's so special that it has a capacitive touch. Have you ever seen that? A capacitive touch screen.
Just like
Amazing
the iPhone from
and
2007. Yeah.
right. And so I think that's most of what we're going to see. I think he might have a little bit of something kind of new to say. I don't expect him to acknowledge that, because listen, by July they need to start making these consoles, right? But they know before
3 weeks.
July that whether they're done with the design and the software and all that kind of stuff. So probably right now they already know whether they are delayed or not. Like if they are delayed because they don't have the parts, they don't order the parts today and you get them tomorrow. It's not how do you call that, like express shipping from Amazon, right? Like if they don't have 4 parts or 2 parts or whoever they are, like even if they were to get them now, they're probably only coming in July, August, September, who knows, right?
Yeah.
So again, they probably already know 100%. Most likely, they already know 100% for sure that they are delayed. I think they're not going to talk about
they
that.
use that space for a delay, though. No way.
Yeah, I don't think exactly.
You think they'll have? Will they show
No, I
Earthworm
don't
Jim
think.
or attach that to the
No,
project?
I don't think so. It's possible, but I don't think so because I don't think they're working on that. They just made that little 5-second flash animation thing, right? To hype up people, but they didn't show anything. There was no gameplay in that. There was nothing.
That was embarrassing. That was embarrassing.
Well,
You can call it gameplay because it's walking, and for an Amico shell, whatever you want to call it, it's gameplay. That's gameplay. But it doesn't actually show anything of the level design, of the controls, of how it works, right? So it's not actual gameplay.
What if they get a different background and put the same walking animation of Earthworm Jim and just pretend like it's a new level?
It's new footage. You're right. Maybe they're gonna do that.
They already made like a special edition of the thing that they showed in the August run. Do you remember that? I remember it well. The rocket ship goes, and then Jim comes out and he runs back and forth and goes, "Hey, Boomer!" And then the rocket ship disappears at one point. It's like, hey, what happened to that? And then they fixed it. They put it back in post and pretended that it was always that way.
You're probably right, Tony. It's likely they're gonna quote unquote show again, this is the kind of stuff that I call misleading, right? Because the general public that's not paying too much attention when you show in-game, quote unquote, in-game footage of the game, right? They think they're making the game. I don't, as far as I understand, they're not making this game. Tommy said they get together and like they're at the phase of writing down ideas and just talking about what they're going to do. You know, there's no one sitting there and actually starting to do the actual art
Coding.
and programming and working on the engine, deciding. I don't think they have anything. I don't think they're working on it. As far as I gathered, I don't think they're working on it. But still, I think Tony TGDs has a um, high chance of being right about this. That they are just gonna cobble something together quickly to show Earthworm Jim because that's the only thing they have that has some kind of name, right? That's some kind of recognition in the gaming industry because everything else is completely irrelevant, I think.
Yeah, what else does Tommy have? I mean, these are his skills. He is a showman. He is a publicist. He is a big mouth, and he likes to drop names. I mean, that's that's what we've seen to date.
I mean,
and I think that's what we're going to continue to
yeah,
see until they can actually put up or shut up.
I think maybe what they're gonna do is I think Tommy said they were going to reveal a new game, right? So
Soccer.
whatever these,
It's gonna be
is it leaked? Did he run his mouth before?
well. If you look
Maybe
at
the sixth pack-in game.
OEB Pete,
if you no,
suspects it's that.
if you look at the tweet he made, he put several emojis and they correspond to games, and one of them was a soccer ball. And
Okay.
if you remember, Retro Bro was saying how he saw the soccer game and it was super amazing and blah blah blah. So I believe that they're going to show off.
The soccer game was amazing.
Yeah, and
The Atari VCS just announced a new soccer game. It's a pixel soccer game, and it was on the mobile stores in 2015. It's adorable. It's a wonderful little pixel soccer. It looks like Sensible Soccer, with little Super Nintendo style people. It's not new. You can get it on Steam or mobile, probably even Nintendo Switch. What was my point here? I'll believe it when I see it, I guess.
well, they're probably going to show
Yeah,
off more footage of the Dolphin game too. The one that they're going to continuously try to pretend like it's Echo or Eco or whatever the fuck you pronounce it.
Oh, Echo is a trademark. It's called like Big Blue Dolphin Game. Guy tried to do a Kickstarter a few years ago.
Yeah, but if you listen to Tommy,
exactly.
he's always insinuating and implying and making it seem like it is.
Wouldn't
It's
that
Echo
be
the
something?
Dolphin, yeah.
Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't
Yeah.
sly wink? Keep paying attention to me. Stay tuned. Wouldn't that be something? Oh, I hate it. I hate it so much. I'm sorry. That's why I love Leo. He likes numbers and science and evidence and proof. And
It's not.
all
It's
the
not
stuff I like.
science if you can't reproduce it. Can you reproduce it? Oh wait, you can.
Yes, yeah. Counting is reproducible, my friend.
Let
Love
me
it.
say
I love the
something
Leo.
because I don't address this stuff. Okay, I don't listen. I actually take the high road, and I did this for many months. I was being attacked. There were videos made explicitly to attack me that I never replied to for many months. But Cyrus Martin made this video, like this 1 hour long bullshit video trying to discredit which I responded to and I made my uh, frame testing video for the Intellivision Amico controller with the touchscreen and all that kind of stuff. But this is the funny thing. Cyrus Martin was talking about because of this scientific thing, you need this scientific thing because if you're not scientific thing, you can't see the lag. And it's like, well, except for the fact that you literally can see the lag I didn't even count the frames before.
Yeah, a guy was trying to imply that
literally
you had to be there.
see it.
Unbelievable.
But then Cyrus Martin said, and there's this machines to test the lag, and he talks about I think it's the time slot sleuth. I don't know how to say it, but there are these things like that you plug to the HDMI input of your monitor, your screen, and it sends the HDMI and measures the light emitting from the screen, and it measures the lag, right? It's a professional lag measuring thing to to measure the lag of a monitor, of a television or something like that. Anything that has the HDMI that thing can output. I don't know whether it can output. Probably can output DisplayPort too, right? That's the thing. That is a thing that you plug into the monitor, and it sends the HDMI set. You cannot use that to measure input lag from a controller, because you can't plug that to the controller. It doesn't send. You see, you
Yeah.
can't do that because, again, that's impossible. The scientific methodology that everyone uses to actually measure the input lag from a complete system, from the controller through the system through the screen, is a film, usually a high speed film, right? Like 250, 240 frames per second or 500 frames per second, whatever you can. You don't need that much, because we are talking about a ballpark. But again, it's just like this. I think maybe he learned that from Tommy. You just say a lot of stuff, and you say a lot of dumb stuff. Like, oh, you see, this machine here, it's scientific. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about. It's actually not what you could possibly use to measure this, but I'm going to talk about this to, pretend that, that the other people who are talking about this and actually know what they're talking about, they don't. Even though I admittedly have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. But let me, make this little magic here, smoke and mirrors, and see, the lag disappeared. It doesn't matter. There's nothing to see here. It's just, yeah, unbelievable. We're talking about scientific stuff, right? Again, there is actual hard science that can be very complicated, right? But science from a very basic perspective, it's the simplest thing on earth. And it's the most
Yeah, you
democratic
don't need
thing
to
on
have a
earth.
weather station to tell that it's raining if you're getting soaked. It's
Yeah,
pretty obvious. It doesn't matter how many inches if you're getting soaked. You're getting soaked.
and the
You don't need
exact
instrumentation for that.
and the most important part of science is that literally everyone can do it. There is no privileged. You could have privileged access to tools and things like that, right? But again, there is no such thing as, oh, but he has a doctor's degree and you don't. Well, but that doesn't matter. If I do the experiment, if I measure it, if I take a ruler and I put it next to an object, right, and I measure 5 centimeters or whatever, it doesn't matter. Right, who you are, whether you have a degree or not. You don't need a degree. You just need to
Right.
do the experiment.
Count
Period.
the frames. Yeah, I made a short video summarizing some long things you said about that. It's not hard, and Cyrus shouldn't have taken. I don't know I don't know who's watching his videos. I think they're impressive to Tommy. Maybe he's performing for an audience of one, but it's not persuasive. I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
I've seen some of
So
those videos, and I don't want to get personal, but it truly seems like they have no idea what they're saying. But if they just keep talking and keep saying words that sound big and important, that people will just believe them. Oh, he must know what he's talking about because he wouldn't shut up about it.
yeah, and he was talking about all those again. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's talking about all these special machines and all these things, right? And all these complexities, trying to make it seem more complicated than what it actually is. Tony, what do you think they're going to show at E3?
Ooh. What I think is they're going to show a probably 5 to 6 minute video of Tommy talking about all the people, all the 600 years of experience, and how that this is a retro inspired because it's no longer a family friendly console. He's now shifted to being retro inspired. So he's going to try to,
I agree. There's a pivot there.
yeah, and he's going to try to pivot to, we're not trying to replace the Switch or the Sony and compete with them. We're just going to be the additional, if you want to play games with your grandpa or your kid, we're going to have those simple games so you could play additional to those other big games. And then I think they'll show a couple, some footage of games we've already seen, probably some Dynablasters, biplanes, some of the more gamer games, if you will.
Yeah.
Probably some footage of the Dolphin Quest.
Tony, you know what's funny
What?
is that even that is what the Nintendo Switch does.
Oh, I don't
Even
doubt
that,
that.
it is actually the second console that everybody has to, because they play Call of Duty, they play this Witcher 3,
Yeah.
they play all those
Do you
games on the
remember the Wii
PlayStation.
the
And
Wii
then they
60? They were like,
have
oh, get your
the
Xbox and add
Switch.
this.
Yeah, and then they have the Switch, and so many people have that. And because it's the one console that, it's not as powerful, but you can take it with you. It can have the little controllers for multiplayer anywhere, and it focuses more on the family-friendly fun and has Mario. Even the retro console to play with your grandpa. That's the second option that you have besides your gaming PC, or a lot of people game on PC and have a Switch, you know, even that Nintendo has covered. It's amazing. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying, even that is a fail for him. Even that is not gonna take him out, because that's what Tom desperately wants. He wants desperately for people to stop acknowledging the existence of the Nintendo Switch. He needs that. As long as people know there is a Nintendo Switch, he's got no chance. He knows that. He needs people to forget the Switch and then buy his console for some reason.
Yeah, but like I said, I think that's the way he's gonna go, because he also was saying something about he knows that hardcore gamers are gonna crap all over them, and that's not their market, even though they're going to E3. I mean, I think this is just a vanity, so he could slap another little logo onto the thing, say, "Hey, we were at E3," and because of the slot they got,
True.
I think they got that slot
True.
on Monday early in the morning. No one's gonna notice. Like I was telling Carl, no one's gonna notice. He'll be able to say that it was a great presentation, everybody loved it, and no one's gonna dispute it because no one's gonna care.
Obviously,
It'll be
they're going to
recorded,
be.
right? We don't have to. Do we have to tune in to see this or
I,
register? God, I hope not.
I think it's going to stay up. I think it's going to be streamed first and then it's going to stay up.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think it'll be on the E3 probably YouTube channel, maybe on their homepage.
So he can say it's great and everybody loves it, but we can also watch for ourselves, and won't that be nice? Won't that
Yeah,
be
but
something?
Well,
and
hopefully
not
there's
only.
live chat. Hopefully there's chat and there's comments turned on, so we could get a accurate,
Oh yeah,
Oh my
response.
God.
that would be cool. And of course, there are going to be 15 videos of all the same people saying all the same things and how they hit it out of the park and whatever, which is
Tommy's so cool.
amazing.
He's a dream team, the Avengers.
Here's the best question: who is gonna have the first video, and how soon after E3?
Well,
OEVP
probably
will send it at the same time,
I think
or
OEVP
1 minute
stream
is
it.
after
gonna live
it's
stream.
finished.
I think he's gonna live stream it, so I don't think
Ah,
he's gonna go. I know they said maybe Amigo After Dark we're gonna live stream it.
some of
I
these guys have
know.
dropped out, like that guy who said he was going to put it in schools, which was a disgusting idea. I thought he's dropped out. The his brother seems to have stopped talking about this. The guy, the Anthem guy who wears the COVID mask all the time, he seems to have dropped out.
Yeah.
What do you think these guys will come back into the fold, or has the audition tape for Tommy to be Tommy's special friend window closed?
Uh, I think maybe they realized that they were too small and weren't getting enough traction fast enough, so they dropped out of the contest. They didn't get the rose. They didn't go on to the next round of The Bachelor.
But there are some other not zero, but very small
You guys.
tubers. Oh, we're keeping you up. I'm sorry, Leo.
No, it's fine. But I'll do the following. I'll try to rejoin from my cell phone. I'll be muted and do some stuff around the house. But I'll try to listen. But you guys, thank you very much for the invitation. Again, I'll try to join, but I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to talk much anymore. So thanks. We're doing a terrible job of reading the chat. I'm sorry, chat, but we're just concentrated here. And I'll try to rejoin. Okay. So good night. If I can't really rejoin from my cell phone.
Yeah,
Are there
thanks
any
for being here.
important later?
Leo, it's
Important.
wonderful to hear from you. Thank you for joining in. You're a beautiful
Thank
person.
you, man. Thanks. Thanks, Tony, for the invitation. And again, I'll try to, if I can, join from the cell phone. I'll try to do that while I do a couple of things I have to do before I go to bed.
All right.
Good night,
Thanks for being
everyone.
here again.
Good night.
Everyone say bye to Leo. He might be coming back, but we appreciate him being here. We appreciate his lag videos and all the coverage he's done. And
He's really been
Bye.
really
just to get back to the
fearless
previous point
too,
before,
speaking his mind and being fluent about it. He really fearless and really honest, and he never gets in the mud even when he's angry. He's so great.
yeah, I mean that is a good point. He could lower himself. You know, I get in the mud every once in a while, but Leo tries to stay above that, and that's really what we need. You know, someone who's objective, who's just stating it like it is, and you know, if they don't like it, that's too bad. But I know that the PlayStation Plus podcast has a stream announcement up saying that they're going to live stream the E3 presentation. However, today or yesterday there was a video that said that Mad Max, the guy in the Doctor Doom mask, he's no longer going to be streaming. So I don't know if someone else is taking over his channel, someone else is taking over their PlayStation Plus podcast, but they're also losing him. Boogie2988. Let's look at the chat here real quick.
Wasn't he in legal trouble recently? I don't follow this stuff closely enough.
Oh, Boogie? Yeah.
Yeah.
He tried to shoot somebody. Well, he fired off a warning shot inside a neighborhood because a YouTuber named Frank Hassel had came over. There was some beef between the two of them. Boogie basically got online and challenged him to show up to his house, that he would shoot him if he showed up. Frank showed up anyway. Boogie fired a quote unquote warning shot, and there was all kind of legal repercussions from it.
That's a shame. There's so much drama. I certainly hope this situation doesn't escalate into drama like that. I know there's been harsh language. I've seen people with multiple accounts doing obnoxious things. Somebody was impersonating me on one of your streams the other day. I was at an event with my kid, and I got a DM saying, "Hey, why are you saying that stuff?" And I was like, "Well, that's not me." And thank you for being able to shut that down. I know Tommy and his CFO have said things about, oh, we're getting threats about, people are contacting our developers, and people say harsh things about my wife. I haven't seen this stuff. I mean, maybe it's happening in the dark web areas or direct messages to him. But I remember the CFO went so far as to say, we had to hire a crisis manager, and look at this. And he posted a link to the sad story of an AtariAge member who killed his girlfriend and then killed himself. It had nothing to do with anybody I've been following this thing that had anything to do with. It's real red herring and really ugly to try to escalate it in that area. Not to equate this with Boogie. It sounds like he actually did that. It sounds like that's justice being served. But God, talk about misinformation. I mean, that's the kind of thing that would escalate into someone like swatting someone's house or doing nasty, Gamergate type pranks on people. That's not what this is about.
That whole thing was I seen that post you're talking about, and that had nothing to do with any Amico. I think maybe that particular individual, maybe he had posted once or twice saying he didn't like the system or something, but he was no
No,
one
I,
that
I believe he did. He was like, "Oh yeah, looking forward to this." The guy had mental problems, clearly.
Yeah. Oh, Beefy says that guy was an Amico fan. So why they even tried to link that towards the Amico haters, I don't.
Well, I guess we're in a post-fact society. I mean, if you don't have to prove anything and you can just spew any, put anything up on the internet that you want to, and if whoever's got the biggest platform and can repeat themselves the most wins. I don't know. I mean, that certainly seems to be Tallarico's MO. Let me get on every stream I can, and maybe word of mouth will spread that I'm so great. Near as I can tell, it's in the same little insular community. They're excited about him, but I don't see the community growing.
Yeah, and the thing is, Tommy likes to say a lot of things. He likes to make claims. He boasts about his achievements. But if you dare look into any of this, any of it, if you look into any of the credits that he did for the games, if you look at any of the Guinness World Records, if you make any mention of it, he gets super offended, super defensive. You've become a stalker.
Oh, dude went ape on you when you put that video up about him not being in the Toshinden 3 credits on screen. Well, he was on Twitter. He was calling his friends saying, this guy says I wasn't in Battle Arena Toshinden. And he got his friend to take a picture of the booklet and post it on Twitter saying, hey, here it is right here. And you were like, I never said you didn't do anything with it. I said you weren't in the on-game credits.
Yeah, he's really good at twisting words too. Like, I'll say something very specific. You're not in the credits in the game. Here's the footage of the in-game credits. Oh, but I worked on it, and this guy he worked on it too, and it's in the booklet. I'm like, okay, but you're not in the in-game credits. I mean, explain that. That's what the question is. Not about whether you're on the booklet or if the guy who worked on the game can vouch for you. It's why are you not specifically in the credits when you beat the game in the game credits section?
Yeah, that's some pretty petty, small time complaining. My other favorite thing is Metroid Prime. Was Tommy fired from Metroid Prime is the question, and Tommy says, no, I was not. And you can look at the official Metroid Wikia for proof of that. And you go to the official Metroid Wikia, which is edited by fans, of course. Anybody can make a change.
Well, it's not
to
an
it.
official wiki. That's why it's a fan wiki. It's not even.
It's a fan wiki. It's on Wikia. It's on fandom. So you go there and you look at the reference saying, no, I wasn't fired. My contract was ended, and the source is, and you click on it, and it's an interview with Tommy himself. Well, there you go. Wikipedia wouldn't allow that. They don't want primary sources on there.
Well, you know what's the best part about that whole thing? If you actually investigate just a little bit further, the person who made the page for Tommy Tallarico on that Metroid Prime wiki is actually someone who's involved with the website that interviewed him that is being sourced.
Oh, so it's just a snake eating its tail. That's great. that's oh my god. I mean, just the fact that he'd pursue this. How long? When was that? Like 2004, or maybe I don't even know when this. No, that was a GameCube game. It was years. It was years and years ago. It shouldn't be relevant to anybody. It's only an issue because he's making it an issue and likes to fight about this stuff. Shame on us for giving him the airtime, I guess.
Well, the funniest thing is he likes to brag about it, but then when you, like I said, when you look into it or ask questions about it, he gets super mad, super defensive. Clark Wen, the guy who took over for Tommy, quote unquote, took over. The sound guy. He basically said that there was 2 gun sound effects in the game that he more or less kept in. So that means he probably changed it, did some tweaks to them. They're not 100% Tommy's work anymore. And Shigeru Miyamoto himself said that the sound quality, the sound effects for the game were so bad that they were almost not going to show the game at Space World 2001. Now, those are quotes from people that worked on it. I'm not making stuff up. And somehow I'm the bad guy. Like,
and this is this isn't like the Great American Novel. This is a sound clip, but it's attached to a major property from a big company, from a superstar developer that he wants to have it in with, and he's got selfies with him. So, oh my god, it's just a name dropping. It's like oof all over again, isn't it? The guy didn't know or care about Roblox until he heard about the oof memes, and then he needed to get a piece of it.
Well, let me add one more little wrinkle to the Metroid thing. They updated the game. It's been compilations have been made where it has all 3 Metroid Primes. They added new people to the credits. Hey, these are the people that helped with the compilation, blah blah blah. He still was not credited on the game. They still did not acknowledge anything that he did. It's like, at what point do you say, Tommy, either they don't like your work or they just have, Nintendo has a personal vendetta against you because they do not want to add you to the credits for this game.
Right. And you've got 300 other credits. And you've got your Guinness award, whether it's earned or paid for, you've still got it.
Yeah.
When is enough, man? I don't know. I don't get it. There's a brain that's working in a different way than the way mine does, I guess.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. I mean, Arioka says that it hurt his ego. He seems to be very jealous of his cousin, who's truly well-known musician. That could be it. It could be the fact that, any little chink in the armor, any little dent that you put on him hurts him so bad he can't deal with it. He doesn't have that capacity. He does never heard no.
Yeah, this kid should have it. This guy should have a kid. He really should. I mean, it's a little late now at age 53, but I don't think there's anything that takes the ego out of you and keeps you from wasting time. He'd have to spend his time more wisely if he would cowboy up, have the child that could make him a more credible person to deliver a family-friendly system. It would keep him off the internet, keep him out of the troll wars. Guy would have to think more about where and when he sleeps. I don't know. That would be my life advice to this fella. Not that he's asking me. I'm not the wealthy celebrity from California, but that's my thought.
Yeah, I know you mentioned the oof thing. Well, here's a little thing with the oof thing. I don't know if you're aware, but there's a man named Joey Kuras. He actually has a YouTube channel. You can look it up. He lists.
Yeah, that's Tommy's employee.
Right. He lists oof as his creation, that he created oof. And there's an old tweet by Tommy where Tommy admits that Joey created oof. While he was working for Tellerico Studios, Joey had created all the sound effects, including oof. So why is it that months later, Tommy's claiming that he's the one who created the sound effect oof? It's like,
it was his company. That's like Elon Musk taking credit for all the engineers at SpaceX and Tesla and Solar City and things like that. I mean, that's got to be that's pure ego. It's the same ego we see when he talks about Intellivision saying, "Oh, and we did this in 1983." No, you didn't do anything in 1983. You were in middle school, little fella. Come on.
Yeah, that kind of gets on my nerves too when he tries to connect the current Intellivision Entertainment to the old Intellivision brand. It's like, it's not the same company. You might have certain employees that worked at both, but that doesn't mean shit. I can go hire the guy who used to mop floors at Nintendo. That doesn't mean that my company is somehow connected to Nintendo.
Yeah, this name dropping. Can you hear the cicadas where I am? I'm outside.
Yeah, I was wondering what that sound was.
Yeah, sorry. My family doesn't want to hear about this crap anymore. They like the silly videos. I've explained to them my reasons for doing this, but it's very small in the family life house.
The Sensible Person house. Those are imaginary people. You don't have families. Anybody who is anti-Amico is anti-family. They live at home in a basement. Don't you know this? This is like
Yeah. Excuse me. I'm sorry. No, I'm in my what do you call it? My furry costume in the basement with my hot pockets and a bunch of cats. And what else do I need? All the Nintendo consoles, of course, for the pornography that's on them. And
that cicada noise, that's one of those CDs that help you sleep. One of those outside noise CDs.
Yeah. Well, clearly I've got mental problems to be following this thing as closely as I am.
Yeah, we all got mental problems, but we do what we can. So I'm living with my mom. I'm living in my mom. So apparently P.O. Box Christmas is still in the womb.
Well, that's pretty racy for prime time, isn't it?
Nothing worse than anything officially connected to Intellivision. So Beefy says it sounds like a Tommy music soundtrack. Uh, Leo had discussed earlier, but what do you think? Have you heard anything about Tommy previous to the Amico? Was anyone talking about his music? Was anyone talking about how great he was as a composer or any of that? Do you remember any of this?
Yeah, I remember this. I remember him from Next Gen or Edge magazine from the '90s. There's a little profile on him as this whiz kid from, I think it was Shiny or Interplay at the time. It was the Earthworm Jim joint, and yeah, he was like a lot of us at that time, and we were kids with access to a lot of cool tools and got to do some cool things. He got some good press. I remember that, and I know he was on that basic cable show, which I didn't. I'm not one of the people that need to watch people play video games, so that was all. That was mostly marketing. I knew he was on that. So when I heard that he was going to be affiliated with the television brand, my first reaction was, "Hey, that he's a real gamer, I think." You don't want to just a suit on this. We saw what happened with Fred Chenet from Atari and how he's running it into blockchain and casinos and hotels and hats with speakers in them and the Atari VCS, which was a stupid idea. So we're thinking, well, Mike Kennedy and his cartridge system, that was a dumb idea. Nobody wants that, and he couldn't have delivered it anyway. Fred Chenet and his attempt to juke up the brand and say, "Hey, look, we're in hardware again." That was a stupid thing to do, and the people they got to run it were not capable of doing it on their own. Whether it was the team or them or not enough resources, we'll never know. They shipped something. It's amazing. But compared to them, it seems like this guy, they're on the right track. He's not just a suit. He seems to know games. He's got a unique angle on this. But that was before he opened his mouth and just started spewing all these promises and wish casting and all the Evil Knievel or kids who were like 8 years old when Evil Knievel was a thing started popping up, and they're like, "Oh, give us a Pac-Man board game, video game on this thing. We need $6 million man. We need all these dead licenses." Um, it was everybody's dream come true. So yeah, I was one of the people with high hopes for it until until all the promises got broken and it became very clear what this really was. It seems like a cash grab. It seems like an ego trip. I believe that the guy respects the memory of his sister. I believe that he wanted to make something good, and he liked this thing. And we see the old videos of him talking about good old Intellivision, and then there's this is one of my favorite things. You can see it on amicogames.com, and then immediately after is Ian Ferguson and Pat Contry from Completely Unnecessary Podcast, and Ian like literally rips the thing apart and says, "This thing was such garbage. It was so flimsy." I believe that Tommy, has an emotional attachment to this thing. The difference is this guy's got enough credit, enough money of his own, or connected rich people to keep him going way longer, to get way further out into the ocean over his head than anybody else would have been in the same situation. If you went to the bank with this idea, they'd be like, "Yeah, we'll come up with some games first, Sonny. Let's see what you can do." Or why don't you start a cool arts game studio and put your things on Switch or Xbox, and then we'll take it from there. Or put it on PC with your original controller. No, they just the hubris of it all, just just
Yeah,
just
I
the thing that
agree.
they could do no wrong.
I think Tommy, he definitely has a love for Intellivision. It's very nostalgic for him. It's a simpler time. I don't know, if his parents have issues medically, or if they're, all there, or maybe they don't, they don't want these newfangled Nintendo systems, and maybe that's part of the reason that he's trying to do this whole system. And he does seem to have the money to take it further than anyone else would. Like if I wanted to make it a system that harkened back to my childhood, I can't afford to, but he seems to be able to. But the problem is he just doesn't seem to be able to
David
handle it.
Perry is a friend of his, and he
Yeah,
was an early investor. We know he's got lots of money from selling Gaikai to Sony, and there's some other people threw money into it. I wonder if Tommy's the I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if he's just being exploited by the brand owners of Intellivision. Hey, get this spaceman out there. Let's have, at least we'll have a good ride of it. And they collected all this money from Republic. Um, can't fault them that. Can't take that away from them. It slips like a $1,000 person seems to slip away every couple of days, but it's holding steady.
yeah. Like I said, I don't know if maybe this is just an idea he had, and he just happens to have the money to be able to make it a reality, and no one is telling him no. But he sure as hell cannot handle the criticism to be out there doing this. He can't handle anyone not enjoying this idea. And honestly, like they said in the chat, I think what he remembers, your nostalgia, what you remember as a kid, often doesn't line up to reality. The vision of
And
Intellivision,
reality doesn't stand still. I mean,
right?
we had giant wooden console CRT TVs in the 70s. That's not the, and we didn't, to get information, you'd have to call information. You didn't have the World Wide Web. You could get away with saying stuff on TV and no one could fact check you.
Yeah, exactly.
ST said something. ST said something interesting in the chat. It's the secret. There is no such thing as being overambitious. I think that's true. I think there's definitely like a faith-based thing going on with this guy. If you flip through The Secret, which is a collection of self-help things from Pierce and The Power of Positive Thinking, stuff like that, kind of thing that Donald Trump liked as well. There's a lot of art of the deal in Tommy's things, where you exaggerate, you overemphasize, everything is the biggest, the best, the superlative. But the thing about The Secret, which is it seems so Tommy, is you've got to really want something, and you think it hard enough, and you put that energy out into the world, and you do that every day, and then that's going to happen for you. And it's like he's trying to make this happen through the
Power of positive thinking.
The power of his personality, which is powerful. I mean, the guy's got some passion. He's got a lot more energy than me, I'll tell you that. And he'll repeat himself, and he'll stay on message, and he'll fight with you, and he'll filibuster, and he'll talk, and he'll talk, and he'll talk. If you look for the Secret online, there's a PDF of it. You can flip through it. It's not a hard read, because it's just a bunch of pull quotes. It's like the back of a book or a movie poster, where they just have like little quips that people say.
Yeah.
And you'll see a lot of Tallarico in that. And I think it kind of explains a bit of, it doesn't excuse him, but it explains how we got what we got with this guy.
Yeah, I do see some of that in him. Some of that. If I just say it, if I just repeat it enough times, it'll eventually be true. If I tell him that we're 99% done, it'll be 99% done. That's got to be so frustrating to work for him, though. It's got to be, when you're like, "Hey, Tommy, we need these parts." Oh, don't worry, we'll get them. I'm thinking positive about those parts coming in. No. You have to fill out these forms and call people. No, don't worry, we'll just think about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the other side of it. I wonder how much of it he's being played by his staff. He's not a technical person. He knows what he wants, and he'll know what it looks like when he sees it. But will he know when he's being fed a line of bullshit? I mean, we can tell when he's feeding us a line of bullshit, but a lot of people swallow it just fine. The fact that he's saying, "Oh, we still have 4 to 6 weeks to figure out the sourcing of the 4 missing parts," makes me think that maybe he's going to pull it out in the clutch, or maybe his suppliers or his employees or the contractors down the line aren't being fully. I mean, that's all he's got. I mean, he can't. It's not like he can. It's not like he can make this happen faster by talking more about it. That's his skill. That's not gonna fabricate the Amicos, the footbaths into the hands of the faithful.
Yeah, there probably is a level of somebody at Intellivision thinking, you know what? If I keep bullshitting Tommy, he'll keep giving me a paycheck.
Yeah, yeah. It's and in this economy, having a paycheck. I mean, I can see why somebody would like that, and as long as they could. Arioka said, the secret really works. That's why COVID exists as an excuse for Miko's delays. Warren Buffett. Tommy thinks he's Warren Buffett. I bet he does wish he was. You spell it Warren Buffet as well, the way Tommy does, right, man? Tommy spoke COVID into existence to give him more time. Fake it till you make it. I think fake it till you make it is the operative phrase here. I'm on low battery, Tony. I'm probably gonna die here soon.
That's all right. We probably should cut this short. We're already at 3 hours.
Good God! Why do you have? Where do you get the energy for this, Tony?
I don't sleep. I get like 4 hours of sleep. I'm a super sleeper, so I just have energy.
They're pretty special.
You can't learn how to be a super sleeper. You just got to be born with it as a special person.
You're certainly that, Tony.
Unfortunately, Canadian Gamer, he couldn't join us. He was supposed to join us. He ended up working late. He texted me that his girlfriend, who doesn't exist, came over. So,
well, you got me instead, the booby prize.
Yeah, we got Sensible Person and LeoDS to fill in. Hopefully, he'll be here Monday. We are going to stream Monday, probably about 7 o'clock. Anyone who wants to join, just let me know. Hit me up on Twitter or Discord.
7 o'clock. Which part of the world is that?
7 o'clock my time, so Central.
Okay.
I am not going to watch the E3 until the stream, so don't tell me. Don't be texting me, asking me about what's going on. No one. It includes people in the chat. Don't be messaging me, telling me, spoiling it. No spoilers. I want to be
You're just going to stay dark. You're going to be off the internet because everyone's going to be talking about this. Shigeru Miyamoto is going to have words about this. It's the event.
Phil Spencer, Shigeru Miyamoto, Kojima, they're all going to introduce the Intellivision Amico.
I do believe there's been a couple saps in the ego thread saying, "Oh, wouldn't it be something if so and so bought this thing?" I'm confusing Atari VCS with Amico sometimes. I know somebody was hoping that a big Google announcement was going to involve. I can't remember if it was Atari or Intellivision at this point, but people have got a funny sense of how small these companies actually are.
Yeah, well, at one point they thought that Microsoft should buy them. I remember there was a Sega announcement, so they were like, "What if Amico buys Sega?" It's like, "Oh, what if Sega buys the Amico?" It is really ridiculous in that thread sometimes, and I you can feel how disconnected these people are with the general internet and the general gaming community. We just lost Leo, so thank you for being here, Sensible Person.
Thank you for having me. This is the first for me. It's a real treat. Sorry if I'm interrupting or rude or anything. I have social problems clearly.
No, it's fine. We all have problems. It's a little bit harder when we can't see nobody's face to know when they might stop talking and we can jump in. But I think we did pretty good. I think we handled this pretty well. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, it's easier to be an anonymous coward that way too.
Yeah.
Show your face. Show your face. That we can dox you. All
right.
No, that's joking, by the way. We don't. That's not something we do. Sorry.
It's nothing we do. We do not condone doxing. We do not condone harassment. We disavow all behavior by people who are crazy. And we will eventually get a Amico no access game night going. I promise you, Beefy. I know you keep hitting me up to do that. I do have 2 other people who want to talk about Amico that have pretty sizable channels. I'm working on that. So, look forward to that. Once again, thank you, Sensible Person. Thank you, Leo, for being on here earlier. You know how we do it on this channel. Love, peace.
Love, peace, booty grease.
Booty grease. We have this bitch.